And as we ride around the Lowe's Motor Speedway with the members of the Charlotte Fire Department, Jeff, we showed some footage, including you dodging through the guys at Dover and finishing 4th. Did you memorize those moves? Because you start 20th today.
Well, I think there's a lot of luck. Dover's a lot different than it is here at Charlotte. A little bit bigger, wider groove to race on here. So hopefully we won't have to dodge too many things like that. We can just, have a good race car.
All right, and young Stuart Kirby, 20 years old, starts just behind him. It could be interesting at the start of this race. But what about the reigning Winston Cup champion, Bobby Labonte? What will it be like for him racing in his backyard? Here's Marty Snyder.
Charlotte has been good for Bobby Labonte. The accolades start with his first Winston Cup win in May of '95. And ever since, Team Green and Coach Gibbs have continued to be impressive with 5 top 3s in the last 8 races and another win in the fall race of 2000. But in May, after leading 75 laps in the Coca-Cola 600, Labonte spun out all by himself, leaving him wondering how to get back to Charlotte's victory lane. And I know that spin has haunted you since May, but more importantly right now, you've got to recover from a 36th and 29th in the last 2 races, and you dropped to 9th in points.
Yeah, that's not what we want to do, but that's part of it, and we're really excited that our Interstate Batteries Pontiac will hopefully run good today, and we'll make up for what we did in May.
All right, he will be a factor, but many say his teammate is the man to beat. He's with Matt Yoakum.
For the second straight Charlotte race weekend, Tony Stewart had to shuttle back and forth to Indy, not racing this time, instead racing to his sister's wedding. He didn't get a chance to practice his car in the final session. Tony, your corporate teammate Mike McLaughlin did second quick, but how will that affect your chances for victory today?
It's just going to take me a couple laps to get used to what we got, and Mikey did a great job, and I appreciate him helping out, and just appreciate everybody at Home Depot and at Joe Gibbs Racing understanding that this is the only sister I got, and I wanted to make her wedding, and she was really surprised. She didn't think I was going to make it, so I was really glad that I did that for her.
He may not have a Winston Cup championship, but he is the people's champion. On Thursday, he handed over a check for $240,000 to Victory Lane Junction for his efforts back in May. Bill?
Thanks, Matt. Now, what's been the hot topic in the Winston Cup garage this weekend? Tires, tires, tires. Goodyear categorizes their tires by groups based on where the Winston Cup Series races at. For example, the left-right combination here at Charlotte is also used at tracks like Texas, Chicago, California, and last week at Kansas. There are 7 groups of tires, from short tracks to road courses and all the way up to the speedways. Now, for each group, the tire must be able to handle the most abrasive track in that group. It can be a very confusing and frustrating issue, but to sort it out, let's visit Wally's World.
Back here in the Goodyear garage, talk is tires. Recently, we've heard some drivers talk about not really being too favorable of this type of tire. Listen, as a driver, we want tires soft. We want them to grip. We want to go down the corner and that car really turn. That's not what we have right now. Goodyear used to build a tire specifically almost for each racetrack. But a couple of years ago, team owners got together and said, hey, listen, we need to consolidate these tires. We need to cut our costs, and we don't need to have all these different brands or codes on the tires. We talked to Greg Stucker from Goodyear. This is what he had to say.
We consciously made a decision to come up with a very conservative recommendation for a particular track grouping, and it was based on the most severe conditions that we would see. And really, because we are designing for that most severe track in a grouping, then we have to be conservative. And that might mean that one of the less severe tracks in that grouping, that particular tire is more conservative or harder for that particular racetrack. And that does, make it a little tougher for the guys to get a hold of the racetrack. It's tougher from a grip standpoint.
NBC Sports presents the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Today, it's the UAW-GM Quality 500, live from the Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a sunny, cool, crisp October day. High temperature expected to be around 65 degrees. It's a perfect day for a homecoming game, and that's exactly what we're playing today. The only thing is, all 43 of our teams play on the same field. Later today in Victory Lane, we'll crown a new homecoming king. And now, here are 3 guys voted most likely to spike the punch bowl at tonight's homecoming dance. Wally Dallenbach, Benny Parsons, and Alan Bestwick. Alan.
All right, Bill, thank you. We have talked a lot about this being the home stadium for all the drivers in today's race. But, Benny, the real reason these guys like this place a lot is because of the way they can race here.
Exactly right, Alan. Last week at Kansas Speedway, we talked about all the cars diving to the bottom of the racetrack on that first lap. And they did, and a couple of them got together. They may head down and turn around on the first lap today, but it won't be because of the racetrack. It will be because they just slipped or missed a shift or something.
We talked earlier about Jeff Gordon's dodging trouble at Dover when he only qualified midfield. Well, again today, Wally, not only Gordon, but his title rival Rudd are going to start 19th and 20th.
Yeah, I think so. You know, Jeff had to do it at Dover. Dale Jarrett had to do it at Pocono and caught him at Pocono. But I think probably what's on Jeff's mind more than anything is this rookie starting right behind him. And I'm sure he's had a talk with him before they climbed into the race cars. But Jeff's got to be careful. All the guys in the championship title hunt right now have got to be careful picking their way through the field.
And the rookie you're referring to is 20-year-old Stuart Kirby. 6 ARCA races under his belt. He qualified for the Winston Cup event here, and he starts right behind Jeff Gordon going into turn 1, lap 1. It'll be interesting, and we'll be sure to keep an eye on it for you. Right now, there's breaking news developing, so we're going to go to NBC News in New York and get an update on what's happening. Here's Tom Brokaw with the latest. Tom? And we welcome those of you on TNT. We interrupt the programming scheduled on TNT because of breaking news events around the world. Our coverage of NASCAR is moving from NBC to here on TNT. And we're at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte, where the UAW-GM Quality 500 is about to get underway. Over 100,000 fans are here, and they've just been told of America's military actions getting underway against the Taliban and those in Afghanistan who are harboring terrorists. And so huge chance of USA and big ovations from the crowd here as they've watched the beginnings of the news events here on the Jumbotron screens and listened in on the public address system here at the track. While those news events are ongoing around the world, we will go on with business as usual here at the racetrack, which is the running of a 500-mile NASCAR Winston Cup Series event. 43 drivers are set to go, 334 laps around this mile-and-a-half track, and before the start of today's race, we go trackside for the traditional opening ceremony, including the invocation and the singing of the national anthem by Lee Greenwood. That gets underway momentarily. You can see all the teams and crews lined up on pit road, ready to play their part in saluting America. A salute that becomes even more poignant now, knowing that our men and women in uniform are being placed in harm's way defending the freedoms our nation enjoys. Alan Bestwick here with Benny Parsons, Wally Dallenbach, and our entire NASCAR on TNT crew. Some 5,000 firefighters from around the country here as part of the Speedway's pre-race show today, named Power of Pride, a salute to the American firefighter. Earlier today, they led those on hand in the grandstands in the Pledge of Allegiance, as well as the singing of God Bless America. And these here today really got vocal when the announcement was made that the military action had begun.
That was an awesome thing today when those firemen walked onto the front stretch from around the corners, 4,000 or 5,000 of them, a huge flag displayed in front of the start-finish line.
And the ovation going up as more word is passed out among the crowd of some of the events that are happening halfway around the world. So things are moving overseas, and again we move our coverage of the NASCAR race here to TNT, and we will continue to follow this event throughout the afternoon and post as is appropriate on things that are happening elsewhere around the globe involving our men and women in uniform. The field of drivers has already been introduced to the crowd on hand now. The man who will lead the field to the green flag is Jimmy Spencer. His teammate Todd Bodine is on the front row. And as we talked in our opening on NBC before events of the world took precedence, Benny, this is one of the drivers' very favorite racetracks to compete on.
Yes, it is, because this is home. This is where all the neighbors come to watch you race. I talked about on Thursday when we go to California, to Michigan, and to Kansas, and to Texas, and all the racetracks around the country, most of these guys are performing in front of strangers. But here, these are your friends and your neighbors that you perform in front of, and when you see them on Tuesday night cooking out in the backyard, you don't want to start explaining how come you finished 37th. You want to explain how you won the race.
8 races to go as far as deciding the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship. And Wally, today, Jeff Gordon and Ricky Rudd, the 2 title contenders, find themselves side by side back on row number 10 of the grid, square in the middle of the field.
Yep, they got some work to do. They're going to have to cut their way through the field, and hopefully they won't get caught up in any kind of accidents. But this racetrack, like Buddy said, this is a favorite racetrack of a lot of the drivers. It's what they call a driver's racetrack. You can't just run flat out around here. You really got to get the car to handle. So I think the best teams will be running up front when it's all over.
Down trackside now. The traditional opening ceremony for today's race is about to begin. The invocation, and Lee Greenwood singing the national anthem before the 100,000 on hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the moments we've been waiting. Good job, sir. As we continue to honor America, please welcome back Lee Greenwood in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Race fans, the time has arrived for the command to start the UAW-GM Quality 500. Please welcome back our special guest from the New York Fire Department for those important words.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Drivers, 500 miles, and only one winner's trophy. The chase for the checkers begins next on TNT.
The UAW-GM Quality 500 is brought to you by UAW-GM, assembly line to finish line, teamwork wins. By Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola salutes baseball's Iron Man. Congratulations, Cal. By Napa Auto Parts. Napa, we keep America running. And by Viagra. Ask your doctor if Viagra is right for you.
At Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte, the field beginning to roll off onto this 1.5 mile track before the start of today's UAW-GM Quality 500. While the cars make their warm-up laps, let's go for a virtual look at this speedway with Benny's Thunder Motion.
And Thunder Motion is powered by EA Sports. Man, I'm already loose before I even get started. Let's take you a lap around the quad oval Lowe's Motor Speedway. Come off turn 4, the first kink. Then we go to the start-finish line. There's another kink before the turn 1. And now to turn 1 on the very bottom of the racetrack. Man, I'm having all kind of trouble today. Look, Bobby Labonte just has driven away from me. Come off turn 2. straight backstretch only, very, very rough. We'll see the cars move up and down and try to go and turn. Don't want to get in the back of Bobby Labonte.
Did you have brakes in that car?
Not on the apron of the racetrack. You know, I got to find me some 12-year-old kid that knows how to do this to teach me something about EA Sports Thunder Motion. Anyway, folks, that's a lap around the Lowe's Motor Speedway.
And an ugly lap it is.
At that it was.
Penalty box is open for you. First of 3 parade and pace laps they'll make underway now before the green flag and the start of the race.
65!
Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, is the proud sponsor of the Bud Pole Award, given to the fastest qualifier in each NASCAR Winston Cup race. Jimmy Spencer had the quickest hot rod for the 2nd time this season and the 3rd of his Winston Cup career. Since 1979, Anheuser-Busch has awarded more than $7 million as the title sponsor of NASCAR's Pole Award program. And now the Walmart starting grid for today's race. Spencer and his teammate Todd Bodine will share the front row for Travis Carter Racing. Row number 2, Kenny Wallace still subbing for Steve Park in the Pennzoil car, his best qualifying since last June at Dover, and Ryan Newman.
On the inside of row 3, Kevin LePage in his first ride in the 7 car. Tony Stewart on the outside did not practice his car yesterday. In row 4, on the inside, Bobby Labonte and Mark Martin.
Got Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Dover winner, starting in row 5 along with Jerry Nadeau, who finished 2nd at Dover a couple of weeks ago, 2 junior. 6th row, Johnny Benson, lost an engine last week in contention. And Joe Nemechek, who missed the race here in May because he was injured.
On the inside of row 7, Sterling Marlin, 5th at Kansas last week. Kevin Harvick finished 2nd here in his first race at Charlotte. On the inside of row 8, Jimmy Johnson in his first NASCAR Winston Cup race, and Stacy Compton.
9th row, Alabama's Hut Strickland is alongside Georgia's Bill Elliott. Bill making his 50th start here at Charlotte today. And the title contenders, top 2 in points, Ricky Rudd and Jeff Gordon, way back in the middle of the field in row 10.
In row 11 on the inside, Michael Walter, his best this year, the best finish here is 3rd. And Stuart Kirby, his first NASCAR Winston Cup race, again on the outside. On the inside, Bobby Hamilton Jr. And on the outside, Rusty Wallace. Rusty led 117 laps at Kansas last week before he was penalized for speeding on pit road. Let's try to talk to Rusty Wallace. And Rusty, Benny Parsons, got me?
Benny, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, how's the car in happy hour last night?
Last night was real good and happy hour. The temperature last night and today are about the same. Track's a little bit hotter right now, so should be a little bit looser. I think we adjusted for that, though.
Now, Rusty, remember, when you're going down pit road today and those guys start pulling out, don't speed.
And I hear you. I can't believe we lost it last week because of that, but hey, that happens.
I hope it's just as good this week as it was last week, Rusty. Good luck to you.
Rusty Wallace, 24th starting spot, 12th row for him today. And we look at the final starters in the field. Bobby Hamilton getting the last position on time. And now those who took provisionals to get in, including Jeff Burton. 37th starting spot. He won the most recent race here back in May on Memorial Weekend. I think he's got an excellent race car to try and run to the front in today's race. Final starter in the field is Kurt Busch in one of Jack Roush's Fords, the Sharpie car. And there are the 43 who will be in today's race.
As we check out the cars that did not qualify, this is big. Richard Childress, the 30 car and 31. Jeff Green and Robbie Gordon, 2 cars from Richard Childress did not qualify. Also, a couple of cars from the Petty Enterprises, Buckshot Jones and Kyle Petty.
Let's get some final stories from pit road before the green flag, starting with Bill Weber.
Well, Alan, there have been 83 NASCAR Winston Cup races here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. 49 of those 83 races have been won by a driver starting in the top 5. In the top 5 starting positions today, a grand total of 2 career Winston Cup wins. Both of those by pole sitter Jimmy Spencer. Could we see a fresh face from the front of the field going to victory lane, or a veteran coming from the back? We'll have to see. Matt?
Bill, for the 5th straight race, Kenny Wallace fills in for the injured Steve Park. But here at the racetrack today, Joey Meyer will fill in for the one-team spotter, Stevie Reeves, who was injured in a car accident about 5 minutes from the racetrack. He was taken to a local hospital. The injuries are not serious. Everything looks to be okay to Marty Snyder.
Matt, a lot of attention focused on a young man named Ryan Newman today. Qualified 4th, finished 2nd at Kansas last week to Jeff Gordon. Here in May, he sat on the pole and led every lap he ran but one. Problem is, he only finished 12 laps and crashed on lap 12, finished 43rd. He says, I have matured now. The team is much more mature. To Allen.
Set for the start here in Charlotte. And Stuart Kirby, the rookie, didn't get going. Gordon won't have to worry about him being behind him.
Or maybe he did get going. Maybe that was just some plan of his to go to the back of the pack.
Spencer leads. Todd Bodine 2nd. Kenny Wallace 3rd. Ryan Newman 4th. That's Kevin LePage and Tony Stewart racing for 5th.
Todd Bodine goes under the teammate of Jimmy Spencer and takes the lead.
Still LePage and Tony Stewart side by side there for 5th. LePage in the 7 this week. Stewart in the 20. And we come to the strike to start lap 3 in our silent remembrance of all of America's fallen heroes. Right now running in 23rd spot. We talked before about the man who would start behind him, Stuart Kirby. Would that be a concern for Gordon going into turn 1? Billy went right to the back of the pack. What happened there?
He just missed a shift, Alan. I talked to Bob Shack, his car owner. He said it's the 3rd straight race he has missed a shift at the start. He missed it, just fell to the back. They said it's okay, just fall in line and now go get him.
And Kirby already picked off a couple of cars. He's gotten by Ricky Craven and Terry Labonte. Todd Bodine is your leader. Spencer 2nd, Ryan Newman 3rd, Kevin LePage took 4th. It's Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 5th, and Kenny Wallace is sliding back.
I've been watching Kenny Wallace in that one car. I don't know if that car's loose. It looks like it's loose. He's having a hard time. He was up high, hanging on that car. How about it, Dave? You know something?
Yeah, he just radioed in, Wally. He is really, really loose. I talked to Paul Andrews, his crew chief, this morning, and the thing they were most concerned about was the practice last night ended at 6 p.m. It was very cool out here. Now the sun's out, and it's quite a bit warmer, they had to guess on the setup.
Yeah, and the best thing for him to do right now is get away from these cars if he can. He needs as much air on that car by himself because the other cars are even making that car worse to drive. So right now he's in a good spot. If he can keep some distance in between the cars behind him, that'll help him quite a bit.
Started 3rd. He's fallen back to 12th. Going to lose another spot. That's Jerry Nadeau in the 25.
Willie Wisely has moved up the racetrack on the outside where he will not have cars right on his rear bumper, or not have to. We see the 10 car of Benson trying to pull in behind the 1. Ricky Rudd goes by. Joe Nemechek, the 33 car.
On board Johnny Benson.
When you start seeing Xerox, you know it's getting to be wintertime, don't you? You start trying to sell antifreeze.
Benson running in 18th place, trying to take 17th from Kenny Wallace.
And you see that white and yellow car behind these two, that is Stacy Compton. That's a paint job used about 25 years ago with Rick Hendrick when Jeff Bodine was driving for Rick Hendrick. Marty, what about about the paint job?
Well, it's a pretty nice paint job, Benny, I think, but this is a critical race for Stacy and his team. They had a good starting spot up in the 16th position, but they are searching for a sponsor, and they have not had much luck. They do have some meetings this week, but earlier this week, Mark Melling, the car owner, told Stacy Compton he could start looking for another ride if he needed to, that it does not look good for them to find a sponsor. They are still trying to find one, but things aren't going too well.
One of a handful of teams who are struggling to find backing for next season, something they normally accomplish mid-summer instead of early fall. Speaking of struggling, Kenny Wallace has still got his hands full.
And I'll guarantee you, he's waving his hand, probably telling these guys behind him, hey, get away from me. This thing is loose.
Look at this. Jeff Gordon is the middle of all these cars as John Engren, the 43, goes by the one of Kenny Wallace. Finally, Jeff Gordon's going to be able to get alongside.
And those guys up in the high lane now, that they're blocked by Kenny. They've got nowhere to go. Stacy's got to wait till all these cars in a low line get by so he can dive down and try to make the pass.
He's just waiting for that sponsor to say those two words.
Clear.
Clear low.
And look at Jeff Gordon go to the very, very top of the racetrack, talking to Robbie Lewis, the crew chief this morning of Jeff Gordon's car. He said that his car was good, but Jeff looked like he had some problems very, very high down in 3 and 4.
Gordon started 20th. He's running 19th. He fell back a few positions in the opening laps, but now he's gradually picking his way. And our aerial views here at Charlotte, courtesy of the United States Army, an army of one. Ricky Rudd, who started alongside Gordon in 19th place, has moved up to 15th now. Make it 14th. So we're just underway here in Charlotte. It is Todd Bodine leading 12 laps in. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. Early in the UAW-GM Quality 500. It is the Travis Carter Racing teammates, Jimmy Spencer and Todd Bodine, who are leading. Spencer retaking the lead from Todd Bodine just seconds ago. Ryan Newman is third. Kevin LePage fourth. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is fifth. The rest of the top 10, Bobby Labonte, Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, Sterling Marlin, and Mark Martin. Kenny Wallace continues to fall back, struggling badly.
He's already back to the 33rd position. And we talk about the 8-car, Dale Earnhardt Jr., a teammate of the one of Kenny Wallace. He's currently in 5th spot. And Marty Snyder, what were you telling him about Junior driving this one car last night?
Well, Junior's team really had big problems in happy hour, Benny. They had an engine problem, a few other things go wrong, so he only got 9 laps in the 8-car. So what they wanted to do at the beginning of happy hour was try to go more towards what the setup was in the number 1 Pennzoil car. So Junior hopped in Steve Park's car, which Kenny Wallace is filling in for, and tried it out to see if he liked the setup, and he hated it. He said, I don't like that setup at all. So what Junior's team was kind of took a stab in the dark. They went back to a setup they had from testing, so maybe that explains why Kenny Wallace is going so far back in the field. Other drivers tried to set up and didn't like it.
Each driver's car, no two drivers are going to run the same exact thing.
No, they're not. Every guy's got something different than they like. Some guys like the cars a lot stiffer than other guys. Some guys like the cars to roll more than other guys. So it's really a personal preference on how you like the car set up.
There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. running in 5th position now, right behind Kevin LePage.
And Junior is just under 3 seconds behind the leader, Jimmy Spencer. Let's go on board with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and see what it's like driving around the Lowe's Motor Speedway. And we can see down the backstretch. I don't guess this camera on the roof is going to show you just how rough it is going in the tunnel corner, going over the tunnel. As we check the telemetry, we can see that he'll probably turn about 9,000 RPM. Oh, Elliott Sadler's crashing. Michael Waltrip barely misses him.
That's over in turn 2. And the caution's out. Sadler already had a close call off of turn 4 a minute ago when he was involved in that big traffic jam around Kenny Wallace. Got away with that one when he had to jump on the brakes hard. This one, he's not so fortunate.
I see some damage to the nose of his car, like he goes down in the corner and ran in the back of someone, and to try to avoid spinning those cars out, that car out, spun himself out.
Elliott started back in 38th place. And it's going to be a long day for him. Safety workers there talking with Elliott. Looked like he started to drive it back to the pits, and it just wouldn't go. What happened?
He's underneath somebody. It looks like the car just got loose underneath the 14 car of Ron Hornaday, which you'll see a lot of that here. If the cars get really, really close to each other going through the corner, the guy on the bottom is going to get loose because there's not enough air on the spoiler of that car. And that's what it looked like. We kind of caught it late there. What do you think, BP?
Yeah, but let's see on board. Yeah, you're exactly right. I saw the damage on the nose of his car and thought maybe he had run in the corner behind someone and slammed on the brakes to avoid hitting them and spun himself out, but that was not the case. Just.
Do you think that could have happened earlier in that deal over in turn 3 when they got in that traffic jam? Because he did get in the back of somebody over there.
We're talking about that on the hood of his car.
23 laps in. Here come the leaders. Not surprised. Unlike at Kansas last weekend when they were going to run forever on a set of tires, they'll change them as often as they can today.
You bet.
Bill?
Jimmy Spencer is a little loose all over the racetrack. It'll be a slight wedge adjustment, 4 tires and fuel. Watch for guys taking 2 tires. Watch for a lot of traffic on pit road when these guys try to leave. They make the wedge adjustment. They go to the right side. They'll come around to the left, give them the left side tires. Obviously doesn't need much fuel. And Spencer will head back out. Came in as the race leader. Let's go to Marty.
23-year-old Ryan Newman parked on pit road, a little bit tight in the middle of 1 and 2, a little bit tight in the middle of 3 and 4. 1 round of wedge out of the left side. Today Burns.
They're still working on Kenny Wallace's car. They made a wedge and a track bar adjustment. Kenny said, as we've already reported, loose big time, no grip at all, and he's gone.
The 12 car, Mike Wallace, 2 tires.
And, you know, I got to give Mike Wallace a call because he started 39th and had worked his way up to 20th when the caution flag came out. He's going to pick up some more positions with his pit strategy. Matt?
Benny Dale Jarrett entered pit road in the 17th position. He took on 4 tires. They made a track bar adjustment. His car was loose up off the corner on the low side. When he would try to go the high line, it would shove the nose. They made a track bar adjustment and just 4 tires. No air pressure or wedge.
Race off of pit road was won by Joe Nemechek. Spencer, Bodine, and Newman are the next in line. Motor Speedway Charlotte and NASCAR on TNT today, where the first round of pit stops has just occurred. A couple of guys took 2 tires and gained a lot of track position.
Joe Nemechek primarily 13th before the pit stop. Now he's leading, but how long can he stay out there? Yesterday in the Busch Series race, 2 tires were not the way to go.
Mike Wallace also 2 tires on his stop. Let's go back and check on Bill Elliott, who had a little hiccup on pit road a minute ago.
This is what happens if something goes wrong in the pits, how many positions you could lose. He got blocked in front of him. Stuart Kirby was in, and the 9 car was blocked. So you'll watch these guys, they'll try to back him up because he can't make the turn. So they're pushing him back. Then he stalls it. Then he finally gets going. He's lost 20 spots there. That just a little slip like that.
Elliott back in 35th place. He started up in 18th. Going green.
Mike Wallace, that 12 car, in a little racy today, isn't he?
Trying to take 6th place. Make that 5th place from Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he does so. Nice little restart there for Mike.
And here's the battle for the lead. They're 3 wide as Todd Bodine on the outside almost hits the wall. But he takes the lead. Spencer to 2nd.
Bodine lineup scraping the paint off the wall. Jimmy Spencer was wiggling loose underneath Nemechek, and Joe must have been sitting there going, this isn't good.
Joe had his eyes closed.
Yeah, we talked about the fear factor in our pre-race show today. That was fear factor. Nemechek in the middle of those two.
And like you said earlier, BP, it'll be interesting to see how long he can hang there in third spot. Because 2 tires is not the way to go here, especially when everybody else is taking on 4. But it's a great way to pick up a bunch of spots, and that's what they did. They gambled.
Ryan Newman, 0-2 car. Finished second in Kansas last weekend, hunting around for a spot.
And 28 car Ricky Rudd is suddenly off the pace dramatically. And he has a bunch of cars jammed up behind him.
Another car, VP, that looked like he may be loose right now.
Rudd second in the championship to Jeff Gordon coming into the race, 222 behind. 8 races to go. Can't have a bad day. Cannot have a bad day today.
Looks like Rudd has now moved up the racetrack to that high groove and is able to maintain the speed a little bit better. As I say that, Jared goes blowing by, and Andretti tries to.
Ricky in 21st spot now. Scott Andretti in the 43 in front of him. The 55 is Bobby Hamilton, and the 99 is Jeff Burton. Trying to pick his way up from 37 starting spot. Rusty Wallace is way back there too, right in the middle of that group.
Yes, Rusty in the 2 car has been struggling all day since the very start, but Ricky Rudd seems to be struggling awfully bad now. Bill, what's the problem?
Well, Benny, we talked about the pre-race show. We'll probably end up talking about it all day today. It was a conversation since we got here earlier this week. They are not very happy with how this set of tires is meshing with the race car. Ricky had no problems. Car was running well. Came in, just put the 4 tires on it. Now the car basically won't go where Ricky wants to put it.
And they're 3 wide in turn 3. Jarrett and Andretti, I guess, almost crashed off turn 2 as they got off the gasoline. That bunched all the cars up behind them.
Change for second. No, Joe Nemechek getting back by Jimmy Spencer.
And Ryan Newman goes by as well. I see Mike Wallace, another car that changed 2 tires. He has gone backwards since the restart. As Junior's been able to get by, several cars able to get by Mike Wallace. It looks like the Nemechek 2-tire change is working well.
Well, you know, come to think of it, they really didn't have that many laps on the left side tires. They had 22 laps.
Lap 22, yeah.
Probably a pretty good call by Andy Petrie and those guys to do that.
Mike Wallace is backed up to the 12th position from 5th place. And this is the 4th place runner, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
That bump down there in right between 3 and 4 is a handful, especially when the tires start wearing on these race cars.
Let's get more on Joe Nemechek's team's call to just get right side tires on their stop. Marty?
Yeah, bold call, Alan, and I don't think they knew how the car was going to react. He was loose before. Cars seemed to be coming in pretty well. And remember yesterday in the NASCAR Busch Series race here on TNT, Nemechek was one of the cars that took no tires and stayed out there. So they're really surprised the car's working this well right now. They did make an air pressure adjustment, and it's really coming in, although Ryan Newman and Dale Earnhardt Jr. just passed him on the racetrack.
That was a
moment.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was a moment. That's exactly what Wally was talking about a moment ago, going in there and beside of someone losing some air on the spoiler. And also another big factor, when these cars, as large as they are, when they go in the corner and make the car go left, they lean against the wall of air. And when the car's on the outside of you, you don't have that wall of air to lean against, along with the other car taking some air off the spoiler, and they become very, very loose.
Sterling Marlin in the 40, Tony Stewart in the 20, both going to tag team to get by Nemechek.
At 33 with a big wobble down there getting into turn 1.
We keep talking about loose. We'll talk about loose and tight all day. let's go inside our virtual garage and show you what we're talking about by loose. Car goes in the corner, preferred line on the very bottom, and all of a sudden the back end will just kick out. When we say loose, that's what we're referring to. That's exaggerated, but that is loose.
Oversteer, another commonly used term to describe that in some circles. There's Jerry Nadeau in the 25 running in 6th. He's gotten by Nemechek. And the slide continues. 48 car, Lowe's machine there. That's Jimmy Johnson, his Winston Cup debut for Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff Gordon, the part owner of that car with Mr. Hendrick. Dave?
And Alan, I spoke with Ken Howes, who is the competition director at Hendrick Motorsports and tabbed as the crew chief for this effort today. By the way, he hasn't done that job since 1995 when he worked on it with Ken Schrader. But the changes they made to Jimmy, he was just a little bit tight, and they made a track bar adjustment to help him a little bit, but the car's running great.
That 48 car is carrying a slogan on the side of it called Power of Pride. That's a program that the Lowe's folks are doing in which they're raising money lap by lap that he races today, along with another $4 million that they've collected to contribute to the 911 fund. Relief fund for the families of those lost in the tragedies of September 11th in New York and Washington and Pennsylvania.
And the power of pride, he must be very prideful right now, talking about the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson as he goes by Spencer and takes over the 7th position. We saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. just a moment ago. He has moved into the 2nd spot, getting by Ryan Newman.
Jeff Gordon trying to creep his way forward right at the back of his group of cars. He's running in 12th spot now. He's just passed Mike Wallace. There's the championship leader.
I think Jeff likes that high groove today, Wally.
Seems like it's working for him, BP. These guys will start moving around. They'll start looking for a line. Normally, you only get away with that down in turns 3 and 4. Everybody will pretty much stay on the bottom if they can in turn 1 or 2.
See the interval from Jeff Gordon up to Todd Bodine, the race leader.
And you can see that distance is 6 seconds, and looks like Todd Bodine. No, now Jeff Gordon's goes down the straightaway. Must be some good power in that Hendrick engine, because down the straightaway, he was able to lessen the advantage that Todd Bodine has on his car.
He's making some good time in that outside lane, too.
Well, when you're up on the high side, you don't really bind the motor down. You don't. When you're down on the bottom in 3 and 4, it kind of wants to kill the engine a little bit. If you can get the car to work up high, it's freer, and it actually will be a little bit faster. You should get a little bit more motor out of it if you run in the high groove.
Todd Bodine out in front as we watch Gordon try and slip underneath Bobby Labonte for 9th spot. Change for 3rd, Sterling Marlin by Ryan Newman. Several people in the garage area this morning told me Marlin was by far the best Dodge in final practice yesterday. They look to be pretty sporty. Todd Bodine has been out in front for most of the UAW-GM Quality 500. Jimmy Spencer and Joe Nemechek, the other two who've led. Caution for the 2nd time in the UAW-GM Quality 500. Stuart Kirby, Ricky Craven, and Jason Leffler are the 3 drivers involved.
And it wasn't his fault, folks. I know you're jumping on this 20-year-old kid, Stuart Kirby. He was just a victim of circumstances.
None of the leaders have come to pit road. Let's go show you what happened to bring out the yellow.
Looks like Jason Leffler in the 01 car. If you look on the right of the screen, he just gets into the left rear quarter panel, Dave Blaney, that 93 car, and actually tried to turn it off Blaney. He didn't want to keep going and spin out Blaney, so he kind of turned the car down. Unfortunately, the car 32 and Stuart Kirby got involved in it.
So Brett Bodine on the apron of the racetrack.
Watch Bill Elliott in the 9 car. How does he get through this? The red car, top of the screen.
I'm not sure. I guess he slammed on the brakes. Brakes, left.
Wow.
Man,
that was
even
close.
The 4 car did a good job. Bobby Hamilton Jr. just squeezed by as well.
And I'm surprised the 77 car missed a wreck. Usually if a wreck's in front of him, somehow, some way, the car finds the wreck.
Right here, the 01 car just gets into 93. Dave does a good job. The 01, Jason just turned that thing down, Unfortunately, like I said, Stuart Kirby and Ricky Craven had nowhere to go.
Well, this will be a fun ride. Let's go on board with Bill Elliott through this.
All right, here we go, in the corner. Uh-oh, I see his trouble. Break. Oh, man, am I good?
You did a good job. How'd you miss that, BP?
Ron Hornaday is right behind the crash.
Good job.
Hey, that wasn't no good. If you want to see a good job, watch Elliott. And not only did he hit the front, we see the right side tires. Stuart Kirby bounced off the wall just before he got to the crash.
Wrong place, wrong time. Marty?
Well, pit road is still closed, guys, but I think a lot of the leaders will come down when it does open up. Dale Earnhardt Jr. sits in second, but he's got a lot of problems inside the car. He has a bad vibration that continues to get worse. He said he feels like the right rear spindle is not on correctly or something in that manner, because he says the vibration is coming from the right rear, and that's what the hub hooks to, is the spindle. He also has a loss of power all of a sudden in the engine. They tried changing ignition boxes, and he went to ignition box 2. Now he's back on 1, and he said that's not helping, and he's lost a lot of torque. So he sits in second with a chassis that is very good, but a lot of other problems for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And they changed that. He has not been on the racetrack. Marty, has he been on the racetrack with this engine in the car?
He has not, Benny. They had the engine problem during happy hour, and they did not test this engine before the race today.
Yesterday was one of the days where final practice was after the NASCAR Busch Series race.
The track and don't get off the corner hard and really put pressure on the right rear, then I don't have the vibration that bad. That makes sense.
Junior talking to Tony Uri and Tony Uri Jr.
For pit road will be open this time, 3800. Do you want to come in, Tony?
That's Ty Norris, the spotter.
For pitting, 4 tires. What I want to work on is just trying to get a little bit of the push out of the center of the corner, just a little bit.
That almost sounds like something might be loose back there. If it under load, it doesn't vibrate.
Lap 49. Everyone's in. Dave?
Tony Stewart is going to come in. They talked about making 2 adjustments, a pound in the left rear and a track bar adjustment, but Tony didn't want it to be bad going into the corner. Then they reconsidered. They will make the track bar adjustment. He's a little bit loose. Bill Weber?
Todd Bodine is on pit road. It's 1 pound of air pressure out of both rear tires just to try and hook them up a little bit better on the racetrack. Marty?
You heard Junior say he wanted to help the push out a little bit, so what they did is they went up a half round on the track bar. That should loosen him up off the corners a little bit, and he's off pit road with 4 tires. To Matt Yoakum.
Mike Wallace started 39, took on 2 tires in his first stop for track position, climbed to 5th, then faded to 13th. His car still loose, so they went down 2 rounds on the track bar, took on 4 tires on this stop. Mike says the car is still very good, even though a tick loose off the corner.
2 drivers did not pit. Kenny Wallace and Bill Elliott have stayed on the racetrack. They have assumed the top 2 positions in the UAW-GM Quality 500. Working the second caution of the UAW-GM Quality 500 at Charlotte after Jason Leffler and Ricky Craven and Stuart Kirby got tangled up in turns 3 and 4. Had an incident on pit road, too, under those stops a minute ago. Let's take a look.
Watch the 28 come out here. Go, 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 go. You're clear, you're clear. But he wasn't quite clear. He bounces off the side of Rusty Wallace. Now what happens here is more than likely when they got on the track, their steering wheel may have been cocked. And if it was cocked, that means they had to reset the toe. And that's what looked like. Rusty came in that lap, and it looks like they were checking the toe, BP.
That's what it looked like. They were going to adjust the toe in on the 2 as well. And also, it damaged the fenders on these cars. You can see Rusty Wallace. Pit stop is complete. They're going around the left side. Pit stop is complete. He drives around Michael Waltrip and goes on the racetrack. And Ricky Rudd is going to drive out into the side of him. Right there. See the 28? Not much contact. Rusty moves over, but the damage had already been done.
He had a car that was outside, so he couldn't move over at the time.
And there we see the car. Dave Burns.
Alan, he's in for the second time under this. He's yelling. Now Rusty is yelling, tow it out. What they do is what they call stringing the car. They run a piece of string from the front tire to the rear tire, make sure that the tires are straight. They turned 3 rounds on the tie rod the first time, but Rusty was still complaining about the way the car was handling, so they brought it back in again, made a further adjustment, trying to get the car straight. Bill?
Dave, Ricky Rudd has been on pit road 2 additional times here to try and correct body damage he has not only to the right front of the car, but also to the left. They came back in, they worked on the fender braces as well as the body, then they brought him in to tape down the hood. So Ricky Rudd involved in that on pit road collision with Rusty Wallace. Let's go further down pit road.
Boy, Bill, things are just getting worse for Dale Earnhardt Jr. They think they only had 3 lug nuts tight on the left rear or one of the rear wheels. The suspicion was the left rear, and they are now checking the hubs just to make sure that everything is tight there and trying to diagnose this vibration problem. They did tighten the lug nuts. Actually, they were on the right rear. I apologize, but they did tighten those lug nuts that were loose, and they were checking where the vibration might be coming from on the hub, and don't think they found what the problem could be for Dale Earnhardt Jr., but he lost a lot of spots coming back down pit road.
And another stop for Rusty Wallace.
See the steering wheel? You know, the spokes are straight across, and that's what the driver is looking for. He wants that spoke straight across. If it's like that, he knows that the toe end is off, that something is bent and they need to correct it.
If you're not familiar with the term toe end, more commonly referred to on your passenger car as front end alignment.
That's part of the front end alignment. Yes, caster, camber, and toe end.
Well, he better hurry. He doesn't lose.
Speed, Rusty.
He better speed now.
This time. Speed, Rusty. Come on, gas it. You don't have to worry about it. Gas it.
Oh, he went down.
You just go to the end of the longest line. No, he got stopped.
He's going to hit the stop sign.
Oh, he's hot.
There's a line on the outside wall on the front stretch. When the pace car gets to that line, that sign goes from go to stop, and you have to wait till the field comes by and rejoin the end of the line.
All right, but if he could have beat it out, even if he sped, all his penalty would have been go to the tail end of the longest line instead of losing a lap, which now this is, you know, this is something that he's got to make up.
And he's still going to be at the end of the longest line.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So a lost lap there for Rusty Wallace. Let's mention that Kenny Wallace did come down pit road and gave up the lead.
And Bill Elliott followed him.
And I misspoke a little bit. Bill Elliott came down pit road when the caution first came out while the pit lane was still closed. So he was going to have to restart at the end of the line anyway. So that he came in and made a second pit stop. But he's still on the lead lap, back in 35th place. Well, this has been an eventful few moments, hasn't it? And I don't think we've brought up the championship ramifications yet for Ricky Rudd in that little collision with Jeff Gordon on the pit lane.
And that little collision is big, folks, because the aerodynamics are so important.
The line that Alan was talking about, that is the line. As the pace car gets to that line, down the front straightaway, when he gets there, the paddle man flips that sign that says stop. So the pace car comes along, and when he gets to that line, well, he there, he'd already gone past the light, got in my way, and I couldn't see the line.
But that sign gets turned over, and then you're a lap down. You are caught in the pits. And that's so you don't have people come charging off a pit lane right up into the middle of traffic.
See that damage on the 28? That, you know, aerodynamics so important here. That's downforce. All the downforce you need to get these tires to dig into the racetrack to give you grip. When you bend something or misshape the nose of these cars, it's so hard to get them back and get them 100%. So it'll be interesting to see if the 28 still going to run as good as he did before that incident.
Let's go to Matt Yoakum.
The good news, Jason Leffler is okay. The bad news, your car looks pretty hurt. What happened?
Just racing 93 there and drove into his left rear. He was coming down. I was pushing up and tried to get off of him, spun out, backed in the fence. And shame we took, you know, we were running pretty good there and took out a couple other cars. So it's a short day for us.
Get it fixed?
No, the singular wireless Dodge is hurt pretty bad. You know, the front snout's all bent up into the steering box. So I guess we'll just call it a day.
His 7th DNF in 2001, Alan.
All right, Matt, thanks. Leffler is off the track. Stuart Kirby's behind the wall. Ricky Craven is in the garage. And Elliott Sadler, who was in the crash that brought out the first caution in lap 23, also in the garage. Better than 100,000 on hand here today. As we go back under green, Tony Stewart is now the leader.
know, what's up with this 40 car? It just seems like that he never gets a really good restart.
You're right, BP. Could have lost the race, or it may have been one of the reasons he lost the Brickyard 400, because he didn't get a good restart.
And we see Todd Bodine trying to go by on the outside.
Bodine, the leader before the pit stops, moves to second.
At Indy in the 40 car, I think he had some vapor lock when the fuel just boiled and he got some air bubbles in there. But as cool as it is here, you would think they would not have that situation. Matt, what about the 40 car? What are they saying?
Well, Benny, one of the problems they've had all year is the restart issue. So they actually, after Indy, went to Kentucky and worked on a lot of different transmission gear ratios, trying to find the right gear ratios for the restarts. They thought they had the problem fixed. Evidently, they didn't.
You know, if you don't have quite the right gear, Bennett, you know, if you've got a tall gear, you've done it, we've all done it. You know, you got to ride the brake. If you're in first gear of the restart, you need to ride the brake and push on the gas as much as possible, so when they do throw that green flag, you got the RPMs up. It's real difficult if you have a tall gear, and that may be some of the 40's problem.
As a matter of fact, I talked to Tony Glover this morning, and you're right, Wally. They do not have as much gear in the back of that car as some of the other cars that I talked to.
Marlin running in third, behind Tony Stewart and Todd Bodine. He's ahead of Mark Martin, who's now in fourth. Ryan Newman is fifth. And you see Martin there pulling down to the inside and letting Newman go on by to pick up a spot. Looking down on Charlotte from the U.S. Army Skycam, an Army of one. Ryan Newman, second place at Kansas City last Sunday in a backup car. Very impressive young man.
Boy, he has been so impressive. He has run this year the ARCA Series. He has run the NASCAR Busch Series and NASCAR Winston Cup. And it doesn't matter whichever division he goes to. He runs up front, either one of them.
Even though we've seen Ryan Newman in a lot of different races this season, he has not run enough yet on the Winston Cup side to lose his eligibility for Rookie of the Year next year. So technically, this is not even his rookie season. Yet he feels he's already learned enough this year, some would say, to possibly win.
There's some things at the beginning of the year that you don't realize you're not doing right until you've done that made that mistake, and be it spinning out when you're in the lead, or misjudging a lap car, or doing simple things as far as coming down pit road too fast, or things like that. I've learned a lot, and I'll continue to learn a lot, but I've learned so much that I think now as a team we're definitely a lot stronger.
And he said the key word right there, as a team. That whole team is a lot better than they were when they were here back in May.
And Ryan referring to a couple of specific things that happened to him. He qualified on the pole for the 600 here in May at Charlotte, the Coca-Cola 600, and was leading when he spun out and crashed at lap number 11. And then he was racing for the win in the NASCAR Busch Series event at Chicago in the closing laps when he came up on a lap car and misjudged it, ran over him, and ended his chance to win. Marty?
Well, Alan, part of that maturing process for Ryan Newman that you speak of was learning how to be good on the long runs. Such a big key here in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, and of course the NASCAR Busch Series as well. And they went about doing that at a test at Dover. They know the kid's fast, and he's got fast cars and fast equipment, but they wanted to teach him how to pace himself, how to be good over a long run. And at that test at Dover, they spent 2 solid days, almost 1,000 miles, working on nothing but long runs, trying to pace yourself over a long run, make your car good at the end of the run, and they've really done that here lately.
Second place. Marlin back on top of Bodine.
And watch him drive down in the corner. What a terrific, even clears him.
Clear high.
Clear high is right.
Clear all around. Good job.
So Marlin third, Todd Bodine fourth. Excuse me, that's second place. Did I say that was third? I'm sorry, second place there. Bodine third, Newman fourth, Mark Martin fifth, and the last car in that group is Jerry Nadeau, who's running in sixth. Tony Stewart is the race leader. 64 laps, closing in on 100 miles here in Charlotte on TNT. TNT's coverage of the UAW-GM Quality 500 is brought to you by UAW-GM. Assembly line to finish line, teamwork wins. By Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola salutes baseball's Iron Man. Congrats, Cal. By Napa Auto Parts. Napa, we keep America running. And by Viagra. Ask your doctor if Viagra is right for you. Just crossed the 100-mile mark here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte, on a very crisp fall afternoon. Temperature in the mid-60s, ideal conditions for racing, and Tony Stewart making the most of it right now.
You know, well, see, looky here, the 25 car, Jerry Nadeau, go by Todd Bodine. The 66, that is for the 4th position. Ryan Newman trying to take away 5th, and Jimmy Johnson trying to take away 6th.
Very impressive for Johnson in his Winston Cup debut so far. In the top 10. His boss, Jeff Gordon, is behind him.
I'm not sure that's smart, outrunning the boss. But it might be.
Some stories from pit road, starting with Dave Burns.
And Alan, we've already talked about the 48 of Jimmy Johnson and how he's from Hendrick Motorsports and Jeff Gordon ownership, and that's all a brand new thing. Well, the guys working on the crew are assembled from Hendrick Motorsports, guys who have worked on pit crews before. They have Craftsman truck teams, they have other Winston Cup teams, including Jeff Gordon's, and they practice pit stops all the time, inserting guys here or there so that at any point, anybody can take over someone else's job. That's how this pit crew is put together today, and their stops haven't been bad. They haven't been great because they haven't worked together a lot, but they've been pretty darn good. Matt?
Dale Jarrett is currently riding in the 10th position. Standing in his pit is Rick Matz, still in his street clothes, which is good news for Dale Jarrett fans. DJ reporting in, he feels very good inside the race car. Reporting in about his race car, the car is neutral and good. No changes on their last pit stop, just 4 tires. To Marty Snyder.
Well, Matt, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s team finally diagnosed the problem with the vibration. They think it is a warped brake rotor in the right rear. When Junior hits the brakes, he feels the vibration. About 15 minutes ago, a very animated team meeting led by Tony Uri Sr., in which he charged his guys up and also told them to get their head back into the game. Junior on the radio said, guys, we have a good car. You've got to give me a good stop, and gave me some track position on the next one. To Bill Weber.
Well, here in Ricky Rudd's pit, it's a very frustrating afternoon, although it's still early in the race. Ricky had that contact on pit road with the 2 and the 92, so I climbed up on top of the pit box to ask Michael McSwain, his crew chief, how bad is your car? He looked at me, and I just climbed back down. They've got the aerodynamic damage, and they have some handling problems, basically based on their setup. But McSwain is always cool under pressure. He said there's a long way to go. But Ricky's got a long way to go to get to the front, too.
Yeah, sure does, Bill. Ricky was back in 35th place when they came off of pit road after the restart. He's gained a few spots, but
it's just ironic that it was a 28 and a 2 that hit after the problems they've had over the last month or so.
Yeah, remember back in Dover, Ricky Rudd was leading the race. He came up to put a lap on Rusty Wallace. They made contact, and then Rusty spun Ricky out. Let's go back and take a look at that. This was a couple of Sundays ago, up in Delaware on the Monster Mile. Ricky Rudd, the race leader at the time. Rusty Wallace was a lap down. And really made no bones about the fact that he did spin Ricky Rudd out because he was mad at him. This was the post-race confrontation in the garage.
Rusty's a little angry. But again, the incident on pit road had nothing to do with that. It was strictly a racing accident.
Yeah. So let's take a break here. It is Tony Stewart who is leading the UAW-GM Quality 500 at Charlotte on TNT. 81 of 334 laps complete. Lowe's Motor Speedway Charlotte and the UAW-GM Quality 500 on TNT. Our Wendy's race menu. The race for the championship moves to the short track in Martinsville, Virginia next Sunday. Gonna be a lot of fun. You want to see some fenders get mashed up? Be with us at noon Eastern time on NBC.
We don't worry about aerodynamics when we go to Martinsville.
We will 2 weeks from now. Talladega, the world's fastest speedway, coming up in a couple of weeks. Hope you'll be with us. by Joe Nemechek, who's just come off the pit lane after a green flag stop. And he's all the way back in 39th place. Marty, what happened?
Well, Alan, they came down pit road because they had something stuck on the grill of the race car. Now, normally a piece of paper or something gets stuck on the grill, it'll come off because of the wind. But what was stuck on the grill was a windshield tear-off from someone else's car. Problem is, the back side of the windshield tear-off is sticky. It has glue on it, so it's stuck literally to the front of Nemechek's car. The temperature shot above the red on the gauge. They think it was above 260 degrees. Their concern now is that the engine may have been harmed. Perhaps they've lost a head gasket on the number 33 car.
That's too bad for Joe. There's Carl Long, the 85 car. Made the race here. That's a Dodge that he's driving.
Todd Bodine really falling back through the field. And by the way, Nemechek now 2 laps down in 39th spot. Todd slipping back to 13th place. Bill, what's going on?
Can't keep the rear end on the racetrack, Alan. It just continues to slide around, very loose, very frustrating. Todd Bodine, one of these guys that really needs a strong finish, but right now just a very loose race car here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
All right, thanks, Bill. Again, Todd back in 13th. And being closed on, actually 14th now. Bobby Hamilton's gone by him. He's being closed on by Dave Blaney. Jeff Gordon, Dale Jarrett, 8th and 9th place for the 24 and 88 cars.
You see Sterling Marlin currently in 2nd spot. And, you know, we talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the brake rotor they think might be out of balance. We have a chassis cam on board the Coors Light Dodge of Sterling Marlin. And here is the brake rotor that we're talking about. And it spins at considerable RPMs. And for just if it's out of balance the least little bit, you will get a tremendous vibration. We see that just how rough it is here. Last week at Kansas Speedway, we had the onboard camera. Last week at Kansas, onboard a Busch car driven by Christian Elder. And see how little movement. And watch here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway just how rough this racetrack is.
It's a big difference. It's a big difference sitting in the car feeling that. Very bumpy here, especially there's a pretty big bump going in between 3 and 4. There's also a bump down in between 1 and 2.
And the reasons for the differences in the roughness of the surface. This track was built in 1960 and that one was built in 2000.
Right, this track is settled here and there a little bit more.
Yeah, a few bumps where it has settled.
And those bumps had a little bit of a hand in deciding the outcome of yesterday's NASCAR Busch Series race here.
Yes, it did. Like I said, when you get over those bumps and your tires are worn out, it's tricky. The car is hard to handle. You'll see some of these guys running the high line in 3 and 4 just so they don't have to run through that bump.
Now, as Sterling Marlin comes off turn 2 and goes down to the tunnel, goes under the racetrack, watch as he goes across that. See that big bump there? That was a tunnel. And the drivers all complained about just how rough that was, and it upset them trying to get down into turn 3.
Part of the challenge.
Part of the challenge is right, especially to get these cars to get some traction. See what is that? Is that a rear bar he's got hooked up right here?
Yeah.
It's right here.
There's probably a bar there. I doubt very seriously that
it's hooked up.
And you see this? You see the fan belt and the pulley there? That is a pump that pulls the fluid out of the rear end, goes to a radiator, cools it, and puts it back. They have to cool the fluid in the rear gearing. Otherwise, it would just overheat.
And I mentioned the bumps in turn 3, partly deciding yesterday's NASCAR Busch Series race. Matt Kenseth was trying to stay in front of Greg Biffle, sailed his car off into turn 3. It started to get away from him. He hit the bumps, and it completely got away from him. And Biffle went on by to score the win. Let's go back and take a look at it. This was the end of yesterday's 300-miler. Kenseth in the 17, Biffle in the 60.
Oh, and you think that the 60 gets in the back of him. Not the case. Matt Kenseth said, the car was loose. I tried my best to stay in front. I couldn't keep up with it.
Tony Stewart, the leader. Out in front by 1.87 seconds over Sterling Marlin. Jerry Nadeau has just taken third from Mark Martin. You're watching NASCAR on TNT.
Well, folks, everything will be decided today.
If you want to win in today's world.
By Wendy's Bacon Mushroom Melt. When you gotta have one, you gotta have one. By the Home Depot, the official home improvement warehouse at NASCAR. And by Conseco. Step up. Closing in on the 150-mile mark here in Charlotte. Got a race for the lead.
Sterling Marlin has stepped it up. You talk about stepping up. How about taking the lead off turn 4?
Still got the 4 up there. Clear all around. Clear all around.
Marlin, the 6th different driver to lead. Marty?
And Alan, this long run really helped Sterling Marlin. In happy hour yesterday, they set their car up to be good on the longer run. This is the first true green flag run that we've had for a long period of time, and they're feeling like their car is just now showing what it can do. It's definitely showing up on the stopwatch.
They were coming up on 50 laps on this set of tires. At about 47 right now.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. driving the 4 car this week.
Let's find out what's going on with Stewart's camp, Dave.
I just talked with their crew, Alan, and I asked, why is he having trouble now? And the only word was, the car likes clean air. And since he's been in all this traffic, they say that is why Sterling Marlin has been able to catch him.
And when they're talking about clean air, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. When you're all by yourself, you're getting all the air on your car. Nobody's robbing you of air. When you get close to, like he's right close to the 40 car, he's got some air that's not being put on his nose, so it's making it harder for him to turn. So when they say clean air, you need to be about, I'd say 4 or 5 car lengths away from the next guy to just have all that air to yourselves to push that car into the racetrack and make it grip.
What about when Marlin goes way high in the corner and Stewart's trying to stay low? Does that help him with that air?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like right now he's good. Tony doesn't have any problem, but now they'll cross almost when they get off the corner. See how the 20 car comes back up underneath the 40, then he hits that wall of air coming off the car of Sterling Marlin.
There's the coach, Joe Gibbs. Tony Stewart and Bobby Labonte, his 2 drivers, running in 2nd and 8th right now. Had a big Toys for Tots fundraiser at their race shop in Huntersville, North Carolina here the other day. Had hundreds and thousands of people turn out to bring toys to be distributed as part of the annual Toys for Tots campaign.
I wondered how long it was going to take Tony Stewart to move high on the racetrack. Sterling Marlin moved high about 20 laps ago and really cut into Tony Stewart's lead and took the lead. I wondered when Tony would try it. He tried it down that time. I don't think he liked it. Look how much ground he lost.
Yeah, I don't think that worked for him, but that's what you got to do, especially when you're following a guy and you see him in a totally different line. You say, man, I've got to try that line. He obviously went up there, probably didn't like it. We'll see where he runs this time. Back down to the bottom.
Tony's not a top of the racetrack guy. You know how some guys just like to run that high lane, like Michael Waltrip. He'll be one of the first to go searching that lane out. Tony, about every place these guys race, likes to make his car work at the bottom of the track. 6th place here, Jeff Gordon and Dale Jarrett.
This battle is 9 seconds behind Sterling Marlin, the leader. And Jeff Gordon's been on that high side all day long. That time he cost him a position as DJ drives by on the inside. Weber, what's going on with Gordon?
I could have predicted that one. Be quiet for a second, you big dummy.
Sorry.
Well, that's only because I just talked to the crew. But what it is, after 40 laps, Jeff radioed in and said the tires are just gone. He's sliding all over the track. They saw DJ coming. So I could have said, Benny, watch. I think the 88's going to go by the 24 without a problem, and he might lose a few more positions here before he gets to pit road. All over the racetrack on that Chevy.
Yeah, you're right, Bill. It looked like the 24 car just moved up the track and let the 88 go. Because if you're sliding there again, you don't want somebody right under the rear bumper because he's going to make you aero loose. So Jeff did the smart thing, just let the 88 go.
And for Dale Jarrett, not bad for a guy with a broken rib. If you've never been in a race car, it's kind of hard to describe the G-forces and the pounding that these guys.
But we got about 9 laps, 8 or 9 laps, so we get tired for you.
Robbie Loomis talking to Jeff Gordon. It's hard to describe the G-forces and the pounding that these guys take in the seats under the best of conditions.
Well, also, like you said, Alan, the seat is very tight. It's formed to you. So you're looking at Dale Jarrett right now inside the 88 car, and you can see all this bouncing around. And as Benny was showing you the right rear spring, what's going on the racetrack, well, that's all going through the seat. So fortunately, if you're going to have a broken rib, it's better to have it on the left side. I think the biggest thing that probably hurts BP is when they drop that jack during a pit stop.
Oh, you know that it does, because it goes down violently. And he told me that one thing that really hurts is a thumb that he sprained, because, you know, gripping that steering wheel, you really have to use your thumb. Matt?
Well, Benny, I was talking to Todd Parrott, Dale Jarrett's crew chief, before the race, and he was showing me the driver's compartment where DJ sits. To help his comfort level today, they added a different right side headrest, very similar to Jeff Gordon's. And they also did some work on the upper left shoulder area of the seat, just to try to help his comfort level, give him a little more room in the seat, in the shoulder area, so he can maneuver a little easier in the seat and with a little less pain.
Dale Jarrett running in 6th place now. 9 seconds behind Sterling Marlin, who's the race leader. We're coming up on a set of pit stops, so we'll take a break here and come back with more. Seco NASCAR Fantasy Challenge. Pick your own team of drivers and see how you match up against other fantasy teams. Log on today, and you might just win a replica of the number 14 Conseco Winston Cup Pontiac. Jeff Gordon is on pit road under the green flag. Bill Weber.
And this is the first of the scheduled stops, although this is about 8 or 9 laps earlier than they had envisioned. It's just that Jeff's car was way too tight. It's an air pressure and chassis adjustment, and his car, as we talked about a few laps ago, sliding up the racetrack, losing too much position. He'll have the freshest tires, does a good stop, and gets back out. So Jeff Gordon leads what will be a long parade on pit road. The 25 of Jerry Nadeau, his teammate, now on pit road. They go around to the right side. Nadeau's car has been handling fairly well so far this afternoon. And they'll come around to the left. Again, these are all scheduled stops, although a little bit earlier than we had imagined. Dave?
Got a car on the wall, Bill.
Caution.
Car on the wall in turn 2. It's Dave Blaney. Caution's out.
Oh, what a tough break for these guys.
And what a big moment that is in the championship for Jeff Gordon and Ricky Rudd. What's Blaney doing?
He's trying to get the car to move.
I don't think he can get out that way.
I was going to say he's spinning it off the wall so he can get out.
That's a good idea. Saw the window net go down, so in a moment we're going to see Blaney, but that's some heavy damage to that left side. Looks about like Dale Jarrett's car from last week at Kansas.
Jeff Gordon is trapped a lap down.
And I don't think Sterling Marlin is going to let him have his lap back like we've seen some other cars. Let other drivers have the lap back, you know, slow down and let them pass them. I don't think Jeff Gordon's the guy you want to have to let him have a lap back. See all the fluid coming out of the car? That's from a broken radiator.
A lot of guys just had a very bad break there, not just Gordon. Ken Schrader had moved up into the top 15. He made a pit stop just before Gordon did. Jerry Nadeau, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, John Andretti, Matt Kenseth, Brett Bodine, and Ron Hornaday all had been on pit road under the green, and then the caution came out. Marty?
And Alan, it could be a bad break for Sterling Marlin, the leader. He thinks he is out of fuel or very close to it. The car sputtered one time. They told him to go down on the flat, move the car around if you need to, but keep the car as flat as possible to make sure the fuel is all being picked up.
You got to get down there one more lane there, Sterling.
And he can't pass the pace car to get to pit road. He has to follow the pace car. There is a speed limit on pit road.
4,000 second gear, 4,000.
Yeah, he's going to be okay. He can coast from there.
Matt Yoakum.
The speed limit today, Benny, is 45 miles per hour. DJ brings the UPS 88 car to a stop. Mike Trower going to work on the right front. Darren Jarley, the UPS truck driver, hands him the tire. A 4-tire stop. His car is just a tick tight. They adjust with left side tires. Dave.
Tony Stewart is loose from the center up. 2 rounds down on the track bar, a pound out of each tire to help him get more overall grip. He gives up second place to come on to pit road. Bill Weber.
Mark Martin's crew fired up. It's a chassis adjustment, just a tick. Marty?
Sterling Marlin is here. He made it all the way to pit road. They made one wedge adjustment. The car very good for Sterling Marlin, and a quick 4-tire stop for the Coors Light guys.
And Sterling wins the race off pit road just barely. And Mark Martin's crew, great stuff. They get him off, it looks like, in third spot of the cars that made their pit stops.
Excellent work by Dale Jarrett's team. Going to get him out fourth.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. We throw the green flag because those cars that just pitted, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, they're all going to be in front of the leaders, trying to stay on the lead lap.
That's right. They'll be on the tail end of the lead lap.
This track position is so important here in racing. Anymore, this Winston Cup field is so competitive. Every spot you can gain or hold on pit road can be critical. And Sterling Marlin's team pumped up over their performance. Check this out. Good job, guys. Marlin holds the lead here in Charlotte. We're back after this. Game today, NASCAR Winston Cup Series teams in Charlotte, where all the teams and drivers, most all, are based. Yesterday, it was the NASCAR Busch Series here. Greg Biffle, we showed you the incident at the end of the race. He and Matt Kenseth racing for the win. Kenseth spun the car out. Biffle went on to take the win.
We talked about the 17 car. Kenseth gets on the bump, gets loose. Biffle goes by. When Kenseth spins, Jeff Burton was running in third spot. He slowed down to avoid the accident. Jason Keller able to get by for that second spot. And Biffle does the donuts.
Does the donuts.
Championship standings as the Busch Series heads to Memphis next weekend. Kevin Harvick cannot lose the lead in that race. Jason Keller swapping the #2 position with Jeff Green. They've only got a few races left to try and overtake Harvick for the Busch Series title. Craftsman Truck Series update now. Trucks ran at Texas Motor Speedway on Friday night.
I heard that Riggs and Rutland had trouble with just a few laps to go, running 1-2. Jack Sprague finishes third and gains on both Rutland and Riggs in the championship.
And Travis Quapple, the Wisconsin rookie driver, scored his first win in that race. Dave Burns.
Alan, this is Rusty Wallace's third pit stop under this caution. The first two times they worked to continue to try to straighten the front end. It was very, very tight on that last run, pushing through the corners, difficult for Rusty to drive. They now put on 4 fresh tires and hope they've got it even better for him. He's still only 1 lap down, and we've seen drivers come from laps down before to win races.
He better hurry, because they're going to get the green here real quick, so he's going to be...
And don't speed now, Rusty. Yeah, don't speed now.
Now, the leader is Sterling Marlin. He is the 5th car back in the outside lane. There's Sterling.
Nope, I think it's this. You got it?
Oh, yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, I had Kenny Schrader the leader.
You've got the 25 of Navy, the 48 of Johnson, Gordon in the 24, the 29 of Harvick, Schrader in the 36, and Andretti in the 43 did not pit. They stopped under the green, stayed out. They're on the tail end of the lead lap in front of Marlin.
And you see a Williams race chase, all these cars in front of the bubble, the leader, trying desperately to stay there.
And the 40 car again did not get a very good restart.
Tony Stewart right behind Marlin is pressing him for the lead, but they're wrapped up in that heavy traffic. Now, Jeff Gordon and all those guys in front of him, what they need is to stay in front of Marlin, get a caution flag. The pace car comes out in front of the race leader whenever the caution flag comes out. That allows them a free pass to make up the full 1.5 miles.
And you see the Sterling Marlin 190 miles per hour when he goes down into turn 1.
Race leader never likes to see these guys tail end of the lead lap on a restart, does he?
Nope. I'd like to see open racetrack. Especially, you know, I don't know if Tony is going to have more of a problem than Sterling, because Tony doesn't like cars around him. He likes to be in open air, so it would have been better if they had a clean racetrack in front of him, especially for the 20 car.
Caution came out a minute ago when Dave Blaney crashed in turn 2. Matt is with him.
Dave Blaney was checked and released from the infield care center. Dave, what happened?
I just felt the left rear get cut down, go down about the flag stand, and I just couldn't get it slowed down enough to keep it from turning around when I got to the corner.
You can't seem to buy luck lately, can you?
I don't know. We were coming in next time for 4 tires and couldn't even make it around there.
Tough day for the 38-year-old from Ohio. Alan?
See the 40 car Sterling Marlin get the 36 of Kenny Schrader loose.
Oh, man. He was looking. Schrader does not want to give up. He wants to stay there. And Tony Stewart trying to figure out who's going to win this battle. He wants to go with them.
Schrader in the 36 had started 34th and moved into the top 15, made the green flag pit stop, then Blaney crashed. That's what's trapped him in this position now. He's in 25th. And he's desperate to stay in front of Marlin.
And Schrader's not the usual yellow M&M's car. They're celebrating Halloween with this car and paint job. Matt Kenseth, the 17 car, alongside Tony Stewart.
Kenseth also a lap down. He made a green flag pit stop before the caution. Matt's back in 26th.
The guy that's not a lap down is Mark Martin, sitting there in the 3rd spot right behind Matt Kenseth.
Battle for the lead. Tony Stewart alongside Sterling Marlin down in turn 1.
First time today, Stewart. Second time today, check that. Stewart has led. He was out front for 45 laps earlier. Aerial views at Charlotte, courtesy of the United States Army. An Army of one. There are 212 ways to be a soldier. Find out more at GoArmy.com. Stewart putting a little gap there on Marlin.
Well, Sterling's running on the outside of the 17 there for a while. He finally cleared that car. Now he looks like he's starting to gain back. And I'm sure the 17 will let Mark go fairly clean as well.
Because they're Roush Racing teammates, and there goes Mark by Matt Kenseth. Dave?
Just quick update on the 17 car of Matt Kenseth. He pitted under green, Alan, but they only took on 2 tires. You might have said, well, why didn't he stay out then when the caution came out, when everyone else pitted and make all that time back up? But they only took on 2 tires. So crew chief Robbie Reiser told him, we got to come back in for 2 left side tires to get you as good as everyone else.
Caution is out.
Now yelling down for debris.
Debris on the front stretch. There's a hunk of metal or something off the 55 car sitting. See it right in the middle of the track, just past the starter stand. Yep.
What that could be.
There it is.
It's like the exhaust system.
Looks like the
insulation.
The insulation for the exhaust system. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's hot. I know that.
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, he's hit the wall.
Yeah.
That's why the insulation's out of it.
That pipe is loose. See him up there high. Looks like up there turn 4. Yowza.
Got just a little bit loose, and when he corrected it, had to move up the racetrack. And unfortunately, he was way too close to that wall to move up the racetrack.
They'll probably have to come in and fix that. That tailpipe hanging like that won't last long.
Probably have to check the front and rear end alignment, too. He rearranged it a little bit there.
Yes.
Big break for Jeff Gordon, Jerry Nadeau. Let's see, who else was in that group? The 43 car, the 29 car, Kevin Harvick.
And Ken Schrader. Remember, he fought so hard to stay in front of Marlin. He was in front of Tony Stewart when the caution came out. They all get a lap back.
Jimmy Johnson, I forgot about him. Another guy that got a huge break.
How about Gordon? Does he have the luck or what?
And these guys are not going to pit, and Jeff Gordon and all those other cars will pit and get 4 fresh tires.
You're absolutely right. Now's the time to do it. They've got nothing to lose. They're already in the back.
Exactly. So they might as well pit. And here they come. Dale Jr. gives up the 14th position to make a stop.
Kevin LePage, Bill Elliott, Stacy Compton, all in. Bill?
Well, you
can imagine how good these guys feel right about now. Jeff Gordon on pit road. This is a simple 4-tire stop, and they will make a slight chassis adjustment. Able to really make a big gain here by that caution coming out, getting back on the lead lap. Marty?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. running 14th, comes down pit road, and a terrific stop for these guys, Bill. Very fast stop. The chassis, again, has been very good all day long. The vibration, for the most part, is gone for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He still just might pull this thing off, guys.
So Junior, Gordon, and all the others rejoin the chase. And again, I come back to the luck for Jeff Gordon. It all worked his way.
This could be huge. Come December time, the latter part of November, when we go to New York to the Waldorf and crown the new champion, this could be big.
Coming up on 200 miles in the UAW-GM Quality 500 in Charlotte, Tony Stewart is your race leader on TNT. Ollie Dallenbach and Benny Parsons nearing 200 miles today in the UAW-GM Quality 500, and once again, lucky charms for Jeff Gordon.
He just had a feeling that something would happen that would allow him to get back on the lead lap with Tony Stewart and the 40-car Sterling Marlin. Now the only question, can he keep up with those two cars? Is it going to do him any good? Because those Tony Stewart and Sterling Marlin have proven to be very fast.
But once again, he finds himself deep in the pack as we get set for a restart with all this traffic in front of him.
But he's got 4 fresh tires, so that may help just a little bit.
And green.
Gordon in 18th spot as we go back at it.
The 40 car is just not getting a restart.
And there's Jeff Gordon on our Williams race chase, way in the back of the pack.
Wow, that is some traffic to go through. That's almost as bad as Monday morning around here on I-85.
Still say he's lucky?
Well,
He's
on the lead lap. That's lucky.
Yeah, he's only a half mile behind now. He could be a mile and a half behind.
Gordon up to 17th place now. Ricky Rudd running in 13th. Remember the damage from the pit road bounce off with Rusty Wallace earlier. Rudd has managed to keep his car in contention. And while we watch this big angry snarl of cars trying to make their way through traffic, let's mention that Jeff Burton has run from 37th starting spot all the way up to 9th. And Kurt Busch started 43rd and last. He's up to 6th.
Jeff Gordon trying to follow his teammate. And another teammate, Jimmy Johnson, right on his back bumper. 3 cars from Hendrick, trying to run down through the rest of these cars. Dave Burns.
And Benny, can you believe it? Jimmy Johnson so far is having the same luck as his new car owner, Jeff Gordon. When that caution came out, that also allowed Johnson to get back on the lead lap because he too had come in for a pit stop under green and had gone a lap down. The luck seems to run deep in this team.
Ricky Rudd slid way up off of turn 2 as we watch Dale Jarrett take 4th spot from Mark Martin.
And there's Mike Wallace, the 12th car, in 6th position. A great run today for Mike.
That team and Jeremy Mayfield splitting up after last weekend's Kansas City race, and Mike Wallace, who had already been told he was going to be out of the 7 car at the end of the season, getting the call by Roger Penske to jump into this car for the rest of this year. And for Mike, he knows it's a chance for the rest of this year to try and prove his talent in a top ride.
Well, this is a chance.
I've talked to this whole organization and it says, look, you know, let's make the best of what it is right now. Whether it continues after this year, we don't know, but at least we'll further your career along and we'll all be happy with it. So I'm excited. I mean, it's what I needed, what I wanted, and I got it. Now I just got to go perform.
like I was going to say, there's a chance every driver waits for is that phone call, especially from a guy like Roger Penske. You know you're with a great race team. You've got really good equipment, and Mike's doing a great job. That car looks like it's working really through the middle.
Really does.
How about it, Matt? What do you got for us?
Well, the only concern of late, guys, for the 12 car Mike Wallace was on the previous restart. He tried passing the 97 car on the outside and brushed the wall. His spotter looked at it. No harm, no foul. This 12 car is running very well in the 6th position.
Mike started back in 39th spot. They took 2 tires to get some track position on the first pit stop, and they've been able to hold most of it. Tony Stewart, the orange car, is your race leader.
And Sterling Marlin, the silver Coors Light car, has once again caught Tony Stewart. He didn't take as many laps this time to catch him. Maybe the 17 car is partly responsible for that.
I think you're right.
Remember that we heard the report from Stewart's pit earlier that his car, he didn't like to be in traffic. His car didn't handle as well with somebody in front of him. Kenseth running in 25th place. He's on the tail end of the lead lap. He's basically a mile and a half down to Stewart. He now needs the quick caution like Jeff Gordon got earlier before Stewart passes him.
Now he's got about 3 cars lined up underneath him now in the draft. This is where the draft really comes into play.
That's Jimmy Spencer, the 3rd place car, right with the top 2. Marty?
Well, Alan, Sterling Marlin has a couple of problems on the restarts, but that's about it as he stalks Tony Stewart for the lead, trying to get it as they go down into turn 1. One of the problems inside the car for Sterling Marlin, when we can see it in just a moment as they go side by side into turn 1, is that Sterling is running a new head restraint system, just like Jeff Gordon's and just like Jeff Burton's. It is very big, but it is considered very safe as well. The problem is Sterling is having a difficult time seeing to his right. So when he goes in a corner side by side, like he just did with Tony Stewart a lap or so ago, he has problems seeing that car up and to the right.
But a lot of these guys, if you look at Jeff Burton's car,
Carl Long is in trouble off turn 4. Nice job by Stacy Compton to avoid. Yellow flag is out.
As I was saying, a lot of these guys have big holes cut in that headrest, so you can see, so you have some peripheral vision.
Let's see if Matt Kenseth can catch Sterling Marlin to get his lap back. Doesn't look like Sterling's going to let him. And so Kenseth will remain trapped 1 lap down. 5th yellow flag of the race. Just past 200 miles now. One thing about the caution flags today, they've been at regular intervals. Very convenient for pit stops, huh? Top right of the screen.
He just got up there, and that loose stuff looks like.
I tell you what, he fought that thing every inch of the way, didn't he?
Yep, and he kept it off the wall too, which is a good thing.
Norman Degree told me he just finished this car, and Carl Long almost had Norman Degree working on this car tomorrow morning, trying to fix it.
Roxborough, North Carolina driver just trying to claw his way into the Winston Cup ranks.
Looks like he turned that car to the right to avoid whoever that was in front of him. Almost looked like a de-wedged the car. You can see the car really get upset there on that shot. And then once it starts to get loose, hang on, especially when you get in that slippery stuff. And when it does, it unloads the springs. It's kind of like a pogo stick effect.
Which is what you mean by de-wedged.
De-wedging, yeah.
Pit stops, Matt.
And the 88 of Dale Jarrett says his car was still a little tight even after the adjustments on the last stop. They are going to adjust with air pressure again. He was just taking it easy today.
And Tony Stewart is in, 4 tires changed. He is very, very loose right now. They make a chassis adjustment for that. Tony says, I just can't get back in the gas when I'm in the corner. Bill.
Jimmy Spencer has brought the mummy back to the front of the field from deep in the pack, still trying to tighten it up just a little bit. 4 tires and fuel. Marty.
Tony Glover asked Sterling Marlin what he wanted. He said, we're fine the way we are. Another great stop for these guys. 4 tires and no changes for Sterling Marlin.
Think the 7 car might have taken 2 tires. We'll follow that up. If not, it was a great stop for that team. He came down pit road 12th, and he's going to come out 2nd. gotten 4. Let's check the race off pit road.
It was a good race.
Stewart goes by clearly in front. And then Sterling Marlin barely does beat Kevin LePage. Jimmy Spencer, Dale Jr., Mark Martin. Here comes DJ. And then, ooh, that's close.
Jeff Burton and Mike Wallace there. So Tony Stewart's team continuing to do great work on pit road. Once again, they've gotten him out with the lead. NASCAR continues on TNT and NBC. Bud Pole qualifying for Martinsville on Friday at 3 Eastern Time on CNN Sports Illustrated. Plus Saturday, final practice from Martinsville at 1 Eastern Time on TNT. Following that, we go to Memphis for the NASCAR Busch Series race. 2:30 Eastern Time. 1 week from today, the Old Dominion 500 presented by Stacker 2. Short track beating and banging at noon Eastern Time on NBC.
That's just in the booth.
Yeah. Well. Earlier today, the news that action has begun overseas. Our thoughts with our men and women in uniform, while those of us at home go about our business. And today the business is NASCAR racing. Let's check on Kevin LePage's pit strategy. Marty?
Fuel only, Alan. No tires for Kevin LePage. They only had 16 laps on their tires. Red Dog Buddy Barnes, the crew chief here, said the tires had just started to come in. Also this week on the team, they have Brad Parrott, who has just left the 88 team of Dale Jarrett's to come and help these guys out. He is serving as a consultant for this weekend.
Leader is Ward Burton. Did not pit under the caution.
Oh, boy, look at that. Who's that shooting up on the right-hand side there? Is that
Wallace?
Mike Wallace, yeah. Which is legal. You can pass on the right.
And Rusty Wallace up there in that 2-car with a chance to get his lap back. He's 1 lap down.
Wallace and Matt Kenseth able to get in front of leader Ward Burton, hoping for a quick caution. The way this back looks, they might get it.
That 77 car, Robert Presley, got big time loose down there in 3 and 4.
For the lead, Tony Stewart. Creeping in on the back of Ward Burton. About every time they've come down pit road, Stewart's team has gotten him off in the same or better position than he came in. It's been a great job for them today. How about Ward Burton's pit strategy, Dave?
And it was not to pit, of course. Ward stayed on the track. They only had 15 laps on that set of tires. They had come in at lap 127. And so Tommy Baldwin, the crew chief, made the decision to stay out. The time before, they did make a chassis adjustment to try to get Ward just a little bit. He starts out loose, and then he tightens up, and they tried to correct that the last time they were in.
Well, that's almost where you want to be. I think, you know, you want to start out a little bit loose, because as you burn the fuel off, the cars will get tighter. They'll get harder to turn them. You'll lose grip in the front.
Give his lap back, stand forward, buddy.
Every crew chief you talk to in the garage here will tell you that's why the drivers make the big bucks those first few laps. As loose as these cars have to be.
Nerve-wracking to drive.
What's that?
Nerve-wracking to drive that way?
Yeah, it is, especially if you got if the pressures are down on the tires. If you got low pressures when you start out, these cars, you can see how much they move when the pressures are up. Well, it's twice as bad when you've got low tire pressure.
What happens, these cars, they put a prescribed amount of air in the tires, pounds per square inch. I think the prescribed right front tire pressure here is 46 pounds. As the cars run, those tires get hot, that air pressure starts to build in the tire.
And there's been a lot of talk about these guys feel like these tires might be a little bit too hard, which makes it even tough traction-wise.
See, this morning, those are the numbers that Goodyear prescribes, that the air pressure they put in the tires.
Crash off turn 4. Ryan Newman is in it. Jimmy Johnson.
You got it. You're going to be fine. Just get it in gear. Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. The grass is wet.
There's Johnson. Winston Cup debut.
And is Ryan Newman's car stalled?
Sure looks like a BP.
Doesn't look like it's injured, just looks like it will not start, and he is going to get lapped.
Gotta go. Starter won't engage.
Starter will not engage.
Rusty.
When you're hitting the start button.
Oh, there he goes.
Rusty Wallace gets a lap back.
There you go, nice and easy.
Matt Kenseth
down here, you'll be all right.
gets a lap back.
Watch. There you go.
Did Kenseth get a lap back?
Kenseth and Rusty. All right, what happened?
Jimmy Johnson just simply got too high, and would that have been something if Jeff Gordon had run into his teammate?
Oh, and he just missed it too.
He did. I was watching you guys, didn't see who hit the back of the 02 car.
And he just turned down to avoid the wreck. Right here, he just cranks her down, gets it sideways.
Oh, look at Gordon again.
See all those bullets dodging around that 24 car.
Man.
Newman did a good job of missing Jimmy Johnson.
Let's go on board with Jeff Gordon. How does he miss this one?
Here you see it. Gets off the gas. He sees there's trouble. He gets off the gas. Kind of waits to see which way the car is going to go. He cleared that one. Then he had another one he had to go through.
Man, they're shooting at him from every angle. And here he comes down pit road.
Most of the leaders are staying out, but Gordon's in, Bill.
And this is a strategy move right here. Robbie Loomis told Jeff Gordon, come on in, come around Jimmy, then stop. We're going to put 4 tires on it, fuel it up, and then send you back out. It could help us big time in the long run. They take the tearaway off the windshield. They roll the right side tires around to the left side of the car. They pick them up on the pit wall, come around to the left side with the jack it up, put on the tires. It's full of fuel. Jeff Gordon has 4 tires, a load of fuel, and at Charlotte, where he is the winningest active driver, Dave.
And the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson is just leaving pit lane. The main thing they wanted to check was the track bar, which it helps centers the rear end of the car. The crew radioed back in to Ken Howes, who's looking over things today, that it is straight. So they're going to put him back out there, but he did lose a lap in the process.
That car is not going to be any fun to drive. I don't care if the track bar is bent or not. The rear of that car aerodynamically is not going to be very good, so he's going to be well off the pace.
Gordon, Benson, Harvick, Andretti, Wallace, Hamilton, Kenseth, and Hornaday, those who made pit stops. Charlotte, home of the UAW-GM Quality 500 for the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. We are coming up on the 250-mile mark now. As we look down on this 1.5-mile track from the U.S. Army Skycam, courtesy of the United States Army and Army of One. About a half a lap away from the restart. Let's get some pit road reports, Bill.
Well, let's keep an eye on Mark Martin here. First of all, Wally, one thing to keep in mind is that his water temperature is only 190 degrees. He'd like it hotter than that, so they're going to have to put some tape on the grill when he pits. Plus, he's tight, so maybe that tape will help in more ways than one, huh?
You're right, Bill. The best thing a driver can have if you have a tight car is have cold water temperature, because when you put that tape on, that's going to give you more downforce on the nose. That's going to help it turn better. Metal floating around in that transmission right now, so that's probably going to get worse.
Ward Burton leads. Tony Stewart is second. Sterling Marlin is third. The green car to the inside of the leader is Ron Hornaday. First car 1 lap down in 25th place. It's been a good day for getting laps back so far.
There's a 77 car, another car, Robert Presley, that's trying to get a lap back. And Tony Stewart for the lead.
Going to try and follow Hornaday through.
Oh, baby. 3 wide. No, Ward backed off. Tony Stewart back in the lead.
Terry Labonte in the 5 is in 34th place. He's 2 laps down, trying to get one of them back. Kevin LePage in the 7 is the second place car. He's underneath Ward Burton. Deep.
They get back to 2. They get back side by side real quick. You just cannot do it 3 abreast, especially getting into one.
Sterling Marlin. It's Jimmy Spencer right behind Marlin in the 26. They're racing for 3rd and 4th. And you've got Mike Wallace up to 5th. Ward Burton has slipped back to 6th, followed by Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Dale Jarrett, and Todd Modine. Championship, Ricky Rudd is 15th. Jeff Gordon is 18th right now.
What a terrific run today for Kevin LePage in that 7 car in his very first ride, replacing Mike Wallace.
And earlier this weekend, we talked with Kevin about getting together with Jim Smith and this number 7 team.
He knows what I can do in a race car. You know, what he's looking for right now is chemistry between the driver and the crew chief and the team and the car owner. And if that works, then your results on Sunday will show. And, you know, I walked into a situation just like a couple of the other guys have done, and they've got to do the best with the situations that's dealt with them this weekend. And when it's all said and done, everybody's either going to be real happy or real disappointed.
Kevin qualified 5th. He's running 2nd. I'd say they'd be pretty pleased right now.
I figure he'll be in that car next weekend, Martinsville.
That would be my guess.
So that'll be more than a week-to-week rent.
He would get an extension on his lease, right, BP?
That's right. And Sterling Marlin sees that tiny, tiny speck up there in front of him. That's Tony Stewart driving away from him.
Not sure if Sterling's car isn't set up for the longer runs. We'll have to look into that, but it seems like his car gets better after 10 or 15 laps.
Well, it really does. And I talked to Tony Glover this morning, and as I said before, he doesn't have as much gear ratio as most guys that I talk to. So it takes the tires getting hot and the cars starting to slip a little bit in the corners before that becomes an advantage for Sterling Marlin.
Coming up on the 250-mile mark in 5 more circuits around, Tony Stewart's your leader at Charlotte. From Charlotte, North Carolina, where the UAW-GM Quality 500 is nearing its halfway point. We're looking at Tony Stewart, one of 7 different drivers who spent time out in front. Let's check our Napa Field summary now, the way things have progressed to this point in the day. 11 lead changes. Stewart has been out in front more than any other driver, but Todd Bodine and Sterling Marlin have also led significant chunks of this one. A lot of caution flags. And another one happening right now. Jerry Nadeau and Robert Presley, turn 2.
I didn't see exactly what happened there, BP, but boy, that 77 has been loose today.
Nadeau was running in 13th place on the lead lap at the time. Presley was a lap down in 27th.
A lot of damage to the left rear. Well, maybe we'll find out, Wally, what happened down in turn 1.
Yeah, it looks like Jerry Nadeau got loose on the inside of the 77.
Yep.
I mean, that's at least twice we've seen that today, maybe even more. Guard down on the inside, just cannot get the proper amount of air on the car, and around they go.
That's exactly what happened. And see how close those cars were? Boy, when you're down on the inside, it just feels like somebody picks up the rear bumper of your car off the racetrack.
Oh, look at Rudd just getting by Robert Presley.
Then a little bit ago, watch the 24 and the 97 coming off of turn 4 here. Rusty Wallace taking a look on the inside. And I just don't think that, yeah, Jeff knew he was there.
What's that all about?
Yeah. Very, very close.
Leaders on pit road, Dave.
The leader is in. Tony Stewart asked for 4 tires. The gas man, his name is Jeff Patterson, also known as Gooch. He makes a wedge adjustment. Tony says they just need a little bit more forward bite on the Home Depot Pontiac. Let's go pick up pit road to Marty Snyder.
Sterling Marlin, tremendous on the long runs, Dave. They will make no adjustments here. It will be a 4-tire stop. These guys have delivered all day long with outstanding stops to Bill Weber.
Spencer's already on his way. 4 tires, no changes, just a little tight, good stop, lots of traffic.
Look at Junior coming out in 3rd place. And the crowd loves it.
Dale Jarrett dropped in 9th. He took some bite out of the car. Other than that, DJ says he's doing fine, and he's just riding along.
Stewart, Spencer, Earnhardt Jr., Marlin, Mike Wallace, Ward Burton, Kevin LePage, Jeff Burton, and Dale Jarrett is the order they come off the pit lane. And let's check it out as they came to that scoring stripe at the end of pit road.
Obviously, Tony a long ways. Spencer Jr., what a great stop by his guys. There comes Sterling. No real close races so far.
And that gamble by Ward Burton's team to not pit under the last caution paid off, right?
Yes, it did.
Gained some track position.
Yep.
Marty, how about Dale Jr.'s stop?
And Benny, did you go to the ATM before you came to the racetrack?
Uh-oh.
That's what I want to know. No, 13.2, your safe parts. But barely.
Man.
These guys had an outstanding stop, 4 tires. And remember when he was back in 34th and we said, don't count him out yet? The chassis coming around. He's still got a shot to win this thing, guys.
Let's explain what we're talking about the ATM, BP, for folks that might not be familiar.
I told all these crews, you make a pit stop 12.99 or faster, and I'll give each one of you guys $100 cash.
You came close to pay it out.
My money.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew getting him out in 3rd place. Past halfway here in Charlotte at the UAW-GM Quality 500. New leader Johnny Benson did not stop under this caution flag. Marty, how come?
Well, Alan, they stopped at lap 168, which would have meant they had, what about, or actually they stopped the caution before this. So they only had about 15 laps on their tires, so they figured why not. They have been having a problem with no grip all day long, so they figured why not maybe lead a few laps here and leave them out. Tires were just starting to come in, so that's kind of the same thing Kevin LePage did a little bit earlier.
And Ward Burton, and that worked out for him.
And if I have no grip, I'm coming in for tires.
Yeah, I went to the wrong school, I think. So that would be like you. Put me some tires on because I know they'll grip.
Well, let's see what kind of grip Benson has here as we go back under green.
Green flag. Mike Wallace again on that restart. He usually gets a car, and that's Sterling. So he probably knows already by now that Sterling's not getting good restarts. So that's an easy pass right there.
Stewart pressing Benson for the lead.
And meanwhile, Sterling has them about 3 wide going in the corner. There's the 0-2 car. Ryan Newman lost a lap, trying to get it back.
Big stack up behind the 4 car, Hamilton Jr. as Tony Stewart goes for the lead. Man, they went into turn 3 and Hamilton Jr. was in the bottom lane and he slid all the way up through traffic across the racetrack.
And he's still having problems. I don't know what's going on there, but he is all over the place.
Everybody gets by okay for now, and we watch Tony Stewart, after reassuming the lead, try to put some distance on Johnny Benson. Spencer 3rd, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 4th, Mike Wallace 5th, then Sterling Marlin, Kevin LePage, Ward Burton, Jeff Burton, and Dale Jarrett. Jeff Gordon is in 15th. And Ricky Rudd is in 11th as far as the championship contenders are concerned. And let's not forget that Tony Stewart is 3rd in points. He's a pretty significant 450 down from Jeff Gordon. But still, he's leading the race. And he's going to gain some ground on both of them if things were to finish like this.
And Junior just right up on the back bumper of Jimmy Spencer, trying his best to get him loose.
Exactly, trying to get him arrow loose there.
Spencer might enjoy that. His car is just a little bit too tight. They did make a minor air pressure adjustment, but they're saying that if he gets in there, it actually helps the 26 till you get too loose.
And when do you cross that line from helping to too loose?
Let's take a look at what we're talking about when we talk about getting a guy loose or aero loose. If you're the car in the back, what you want to do is you want to get right up on the tail of the car in the front. What that's going to do is that's going to take the air off the rear spoiler, as well as it's going to pack the air up underneath his rear bumper. So what it does is just lifts the rear of the car off the ground, and that takes away the traction, and that's when you see the car kind of scoot up the track a little bit. That's what you do when you want to get somebody aero loose.
And that's about what happens to that car in front of you, and you simply drive by while they're trying to get your heart beating and get the car back under control.
So Dale Jr. still working the back of Jimmy Spencer. Spencer in the 26. Junior's not close enough to him right now to make him aero loose.
And probably what Junior's going through is he's probably aero pushing right now. He can't get close enough because he can't get the car to turn when he gets right up underneath or right behind the car of Jimmy Spencer.
Spencer to second. Junior to third. Benson slides back to fourth.
And Sterling Marlin has took over that fifth position from Mike Wallace. And he's looking for fourth. When we saw the 40 car pull up behind the 10 down in 3 and 4, you know, if Johnny Benson did not have a rearview mirror, he would have known someone was right behind him by just how the car felt there.
Because he could feel that air picking the back of the car up. And he doesn't have 4 fresh tires, so he's got less traction than everybody. So he's going to go ahead and just move up that track a little bit and say, go ahead, you can have it.
0-2 car just in front of Benson here is Ryan Newman. Remember, he spun a little bit ago. He's the first car 1 lap down in 24th place. 9th place here, Dale Jarrett in the 88 and Jeff Burton in the 99. Jeff Burton has moved up from the back of the field into the top 10, Matt.
Alan, he's quietly moved into the top 10. I spoke with Frank Stoddard, his crew chief, on Thursday. He says it seems like 2 seasons have gone by since they won here back in May. This is the same race car they won the Coca-Cola 600 and are hoping for the same results. The car was a little loose on the last run, so they adjusted with air pressure, taking a 1/4 pound out of both left side tires, and they added 1.5 rounds of bite. Burton is hoping they can turn their season around here late in the year with another win here in Charlotte.
And we heard from Jeff Burton live on our pre-race show, and he told Bill Weber down on the wagon that it really has been, for a variety of reasons, a struggle for him this year, but those struggles kind of get overshadowed by confidence when they come here to Charlotte.
We really haven't had much success here during the day, so we're always a little bit reluctant when we come to Charlotte during the day because it gets so slippery. It's hard to get hooked up, but we're looking forward to it. I like this racetrack, and we do have our confidence is rising, you know, not at a great level, but it's rising slowly.
Well, let's not overstate it. Goodness. I talked to Frankie Stoddard this morning, and he said, we feel like we've got a car. Ooh, he almost got the wall there. He said, we feel like we've got a car that we can race right up into the front and contend, despite the fact that they started 37th. Of 334 laps complete here in Charlotte. Tony Stewart leads on TNT. TNT's coverage of the UAW-GM Quality 500 is brought to you by UAW-GM. Assembly line to finish line, teamwork wins. By Budweiser. With a crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer, this Bud's for you. By Goodyear, reminding you to take all your journeys on the wings of Goodyear. And by UPS, the official delivery company of NASCAR. We want to race the truck. People love the truck.
What, that Coors car Sterling's coming.
Just about 300 miles into the UAW-GM Quality 500 at Charlotte. Tony Stewart is the race leader, but Sterling Marlin in that Coors car running second is running faster than Stewart and closing in.
Yeah, that rearview mirror is not his friend now, is it? Talking about Tony Stewart, because every time he comes off the corner, about right now, he glances up to see what's going on, and he sees that silver 40 getting closer and closer.
Speeds at the line. Indeed.
So Sterling's not hoping for a 10 or 15 lap shootout.
Oh, no.
At the end of this race.
No, I think he's going to need about a 40 or 50 lap run.
Marlin has had trouble all year, but in particular today, getting going on restarts. Let's go through the field and check in on how all of your favorite drivers are running today. We'll start with Dave Burns.
Leader Tony Stewart, with 3 wins on the season, third in Winston Cup points, is trying to pick up win number 4 today. The good news since his last pit stop is he has made no comments on the radio. The changes that they made have not hurt the car in any way. Let's go to Marty.
Well, Dave, Sterling Marlin has an outstanding car, especially on the longer runs, as Wally was just talking about. If they do have a long green flag run to finish this race, they should win the race. Some very bold statements by Tony Glover, the team manager for Chip Ganassi Racing, to Sterling Marlin. He told Sterling about 30 minutes ago, this is the best race car you have ever had. These guys have been working together for a very long time. That includes a couple of Daytona 500 wins, and they think this car is excellent today. To Bill Weber.
Well, Jimmy Spencer will complete the season in the 26 car, and then we'll move along. A new 3-year deal speculated to be with Chip Ganassi of the 01 car. This week, Spencer made it very clear to the media. He believes this team with him in the car can win before the end of the year. His car is just a little bit tight, but the longer he goes, the better he seems to get. Spencer and the Mummy trying to return to victory lane. Marty?
Bill Jell Earnhardt Jr. is running 4th right now, and he has his buddy Wilson on board, who's been a good luck charm for them so far. They had a great run going at Kansas last week until they got into the wall. The car is just as good today. It is a little bit tight right now. He wants an air pressure adjustment on the next pit stop. To Matt Yoakum.
Mike Wallace continues to showcase his talents, filling in the 12 car, trying to earn himself a full-time ride with someone for next year. He's currently riding in 5th, matching his best career finish. On the last run, the car was a tick tight, so they went 2 rounds up on the track bar. This matches his best career finish from 1994. To Marty.
It's the same exact situation with Kevin LePage, trying to secure a ride, maybe in the 7 car for the rest of the year, maybe even for next year. The car very good right now, just a little bit loose. They've had a problem with that all day long, but they gained a lot of track position earlier, and they haven't given much of it back. Currently running in 6th. They have 3 top 15s in his last 4 races here. Does Kevin LePage. Today Burns.
Marty, on his last stop, Ward Burton had an air pressure and wedge adjustment made to his car, and even though we talked earlier about the fact that it starts out loose and gets tighter in a good way, he just radioed in and said it's getting tighter every lap, which is too tight. Alan?
Lead change.
And I can't believe how quickly that Sterling Marlin caught Tony Stewart and passed him.
So Marlin back out in front, and let's continue our look through the field. We pick back up in 8th place with Dale Jarrett. Matt?
Dale Jarrett rolls into Charlotte trying to get his season back on track. And what I mean by that is he's looking ahead to the 2002 season. Todd Parrott told me they're trying a few things with this race car, which has been their best race car all year. It has 2 wins. Looking ahead to next year to get back in championship form. Currently, DJ is riding in the 8th position. He hasn't made any comments about the race car except that it's very good. To Marty.
James Jensen, the call he made a little bit earlier, Matt, was a terrific one for Johnny Benson. They are currently in the 9th position. They did not come down pit road the last time, and that call seems to have paid off. They're holding their track position fairly well. They've had a problem with no grip in the race car all day long. Right now, the car a little bit tight. When they come down pit road, they want to go up on the track bar. To Matt Yoakum.
About 20 laps ago, we told you about the recent changes on the 99 car of Jeff Burton, the May winner here. The car keeps going back and forth from tight to loose, and that's where it is right now. Frank Stoddard, his crew chief, told me they've gone back to the loose his side, so he's trying to hang in the top 10 until their next round of pit stops. To Bill.
Well, Mark Martin having a good day, lost a couple of positions last time he was on pit road, had a little trouble with the right front. They also put about a 6 to 8 inch piece of tape on the front of the grill for 2 reasons: to try and help tighten him up and to try and raise the water temperature from 190 degrees. Crew Chief Jimmy Fennick says it's working. Mark hoping to march through the field as the laps click off. Nobody has worked harder today than the 28 crew for driver Ricky Rudd. They had on pit road run in with the 2 and the 92. They had to come back in. They had to do body work. They had to work on the fender support bars. They got him back out. He has had trouble with the car throughout the day. Not happy with the tires. Right now the car slides the front. Ricky has to try and run the bottom into the turns to get any grip. But Fatback Michael McSwain has told Ricky, we will get you closer to the front as the laps go by. Todd Bodine has had an up and down day. One of several drivers looking for a good solid finish. They keep trying to tighten the car up for him. They've got it a little tighter now, hoping that that works for them as the laps go by. Last pit stop, Bobby Labonte took 4 tires, no changes. It's been very quiet on the radio. This morning, Bobby Labonte had an appearance at Hospitality. He told the people there this weekend is identical to this race weekend 1 year ago. It rained on Saturday, was cool on Sunday. Last year, Bobby Labonte won this race. Dave?
No, perhaps the only crew on pit road that has worked harder than Ricky Rudd is his sparring partner and good buddy Rusty Wallace. The team got the car back out there after contact with Rudd on pit road, and then the last 2 stops they made on pit road, they haven't made any changes. I talked to crew chief Robin Pemberton, and he said, you know, when you work this hard, when you're in every 15 laps, you finally get to a point where you hope you fixed it, and you don't have to make any changes. That's where Rusty is right now. Alan?
All right, Dave, thanks. Rusty running in 15th. Next car behind him on the lead lap is Kurt Busch, who's running in 16th place. He started flat last in the field. He's been up as high as 6th. Good run for the Las Vegas driver. Next behind Kurt Busch, you'll find Matt Kenseth, one of a number of drivers who've got caught a lap down when they were on pit road and a caution flag came out shortly after. Check the distance back to Matt. There he is.
And then behind Matt Kenseth, we got to go all the way back to the 18th position to find Jeff Gordon.
Gordon got caught a lap down earlier when he pitted under green at 110. Then the 93 crashed and brought out the yellow. He made the lap back up at a caution at lap 127. Bill?
And Alan, he was working his way forward, but right after he went out after his most recent pit stop, he called in and said, I might have a tire that's beginning to equalize. He told the crew, I'm going to stay out as long as I can, but he has been drifting the wrong way, falling back in the field, back to 18th. He was up to 15th, so they're watching that car very, very closely.
All right, Bill, thank you.
It was a little while ago, we're watching the 24 and the 2 were right together on the racetrack. Then all of a sudden, Rusty just took off.
The next 3 cars in line all were in the same predicament as Jeff Gordon. Hit it under green, got caught a lap down when the caution came out, got it back at the same time Gordon did. We speak of John Andretti in the 43 and Kevin Harvick in the 29.
And Harvick reports in the pits he has lost first and second gear in the transmission, has to restart in 3rd gear. So a late caution flag is certainly not going to be able to do him any good. And every time he makes a pit stop, he's going to lose considerable distance to the cars in front of him.
Next car in line behind these 2 will be Ken Schrader back in 21st position. Schrader, as I mentioned a minute ago, in the same situation with these drivers. Had a good run up into the 15th, top 15. Pitted under green, caution came out, caught a lap down, made it back up. Now he's hanging on to the lead lap in 21st.
I was talking to a couple of his owners this morning, huge University of Georgia fans. As a matter of fact, one of the owners was at the game yesterday, and when Tennessee scored late on, he disgustedly left the stadium. The other one's watching it on TV. When they scored, he turned it off, and Georgia came back to win the game. And both those guys were hanging their head with shame. They missed Georgia beating Tennessee.
Bill Elliott in 22nd place. Came down pit road before it was opened earlier under a caution. Had to go to the end of the line.
Now we're thinking, BP and I think there's some kind of fuel strategy going on there at the 9. Don't you think, BP, or no?
It really seems that way. Why he would come in and change 4 tires with 1 to go, like he might be trying to stretch this thing and on 1 more stop or 2 more stops or fuel only. I don't know what's going on there.
And there's the last car on the lead lap, which is Stacy Compton and Mark Mellings, number 92. So there you go. 2:09 in the books, just past 300 miles in the UAW-GM Quality 500. The 40 car, Sterling Marlin, is the leader in the UAW-GM Quality 500. 122 laps to go. Meantime, Jimmy Johnson, who had a great run going earlier in his Winston Cup debut, has just taken his car to the garage.
And Alan, I've caught up with him now. Jimmy, what happened in the incident on the track with you?
Well, you know, all the other adversity we had fought to get over, the lap down, came back, you know, we were running so strong at the beginning of the event. I was obviously real content riding up there, taking care of our equipment in this Lowe's Monte Carlo, but I was trying to get around up on the top and, you know, turbulent air, and of course I was probably trying a little hard and got into 3, and on old tires you got to be real careful getting into 3 up there. There's some bumps, and lost it, saved it, thought I had it, and then it's real slick up there, and it ended up coming around. I'm just real lucky. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my teammate race. You know, he's racing for the championship, and I saw him coming off close to my door. So I'm just real happy that nothing happened there. And it's a tough weekend with the loss of my real close friend Blaze Alexander, and a great weekend, you know, on the Cup side. We'll be back.
Okay, and in fact, Alan, we were just sitting down here watching the line that Jeff Gordon, his teammate that he mentioned, was running extremely high. Jimmy's car wouldn't work up there, and that contributed to the problems he had.
And like he said, like I said earlier, when you're on older tires, those bumps are terrible. It is very, very, very tough to get traction through that corner over those bumps.
Last car in the lead lap, Stacy Compton, 23rd place, being overtaken by leader Sterling Marlin.
He's pitting a little early, but he does get in a fuel window for a regular sequence. They had to get him off this set of tires. They were afraid one was equalizing. It's 4 tires and fuel for Gordon, but remember last time he pitted under the green, the caution came out and he fell off the lead lap.
Gambling. Gordon stopped 50 laps after he had previously, so it's another 15 to 20 that they'll be nerve-wracked, hoping the caution doesn't come out before the other front runners have to come in.
And Sterling Marlin, the leader, goes by and puts him another lap down. So it's imperative that Jeff Gordon catches him and passes him. If he can.
If. Johnny Benson's on pit road. Marty?
Well, Ellen, the gamble with no tires and not coming down pit road the last time really paid off for these guys. They gained track position up to 9th. They were tight on that last run. They're going to go up on the track bar. Actually, they're going to go down on the track bar. Or actually, that's around a wet. My apologies. And they take 1 pound. Now, they're both left side tires. A little tight for Benson. He's finished 31st and 37th in his last 2 races. These guys really need a top 10.
Great pit stop.
That team has been very sharp all season. And it's just a matter of time before they get into victory lane with Johnny. Speaking of very sharp, Sterling Marlin has led 59 of the 223 that have been run today. Tony Stewart has led the most laps so far. And Marlin is trying to close that gap. Others who've led, Todd Bodine, Ward Burton, Jimmy Spencer, Benson, Joe Nemechek, and Kenny Wallace. Out of the race, Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Nadeau, Dave Blaney, Stuart Kirby, and Jason Leffler. All involved in crashes in one form or another.
Kenny Wallace in the 1 car is a lap down. I'm sure would love to somehow stay in front. Ricky Rudd, a title contender, making a pit stop.
Rudd pits from 18th place. And this is a little short. So he's in the same situation Gordon is. Here they go.
Oh, no, the right front did not get the lug nut, all 5 of them off. Had to pick the gun back up. That's going to slow the stop down dramatically. John Brown has that jack up. We can see they should be going and leaving right now, but it's 17 seconds.
cost him about 2 seconds, just that one little mess up. And on the racetrack, that's about 150 yards, maybe a little bit more.
Well, he was ahead of Jeff Gordon, wasn't he?
Yeah.
All right, here comes Jeff Gordon. He's trying his best to run down Sterling Marlin, get in front of him, and utilize those fresh tires to the maximum. And another thing, if the caution flag should come out before Sterling pits, Jeff wants to be sure and get in front of him if he can. That would save him 1 lap. Right now, Jeff Gordon is 2 laps down in 23rd position.
Need about another 10 laps without a caution flag before the other leaders will have to pit.
And we saw Jeff Gordon very, very high up in 3 and 4. With these fresher tires, he can move back to the bottom of the racetrack and run a faster speed as he closes in right on the back bumper of Sterling Marlin.
Because of Rudd also making the green flag pit stop, the two drivers very close in position on the track. Gordon 23rd, Rudd 25th. Virtually no change in the championship at this stage of the race. Caution. Got a smoker off turn 4. It's Kurt Busch. Let's see if Gordon can beat Sterling Marlin back for one of those laps to the start-finish line. It's still going to leave him 1 lap down. But Ricky Rudd's going to be pinned 2 laps down.
And as this goes on, Johnny Benson, something has happened to the 10 car.
Marty?
Yeah, Benny, Johnny Benson's car started pushing oil out a little while ago, and they think they have now lost the engine in Johnny Benson's car. Terrible break for these guys because they had a great top 10 run going.
Now, won't that put Gordon on the tail end of the lead lap?
If he does not pit now.
Right.
Because
everybody else in front of him's got to pit.
There's the problem that brought out the yellow. Kurt Busch smoking heavily all the way around the racetrack. And he came down pit road speeding. Ooh, look at the left front there. That all oil?
That's all oil on the hood there, yeah.
All that big splotch up under the wheel well. Lucky he didn't crash.
Yep, very. Because that's going right back on the rear tires after it leaves there.
Well, what has been a very interesting race in terms of twists of story and different things happening is just about to get another chapter written. Let's see what happens with Jeff Gordon and Ricky Rudd here as the leaders come down the pit lane under the caution. 105 laps to go. And we go to Matt.
Mike Wallace is having a great day, entering pit road in 5th, and a lucky day. The team didn't get the fuel cell all full of fuel on his last stop, so they were going to pit in 2 laps. 4 tires and an air pressure and wedge adjustment today.
Tony Stewart is tight on entry, just a little bit loose in the center. They take a pound out of each tire, a wedge and a track bar adjustment. Bill.
It's a very simple half-pound air adjustment to the right front of Jimmy Spencer's car, Marty.
The only adjustment for Sterling Marlin, Bill, is they pulled the tearaway off the windshield. No changes on the chassis, and 4 tires, and another great stop for these guys.
If somebody else would pull out, they could get 4 wide coming down the pit road. I don't know who's going to win that battle.
Oh, that's great.
Another good pit stop by Rusty Wallace. And I'm sure he was tempted to try to pass those. Actually, it looked like he was going to, and then he went, no, I'm not going to get caught again.
Tony Stewart beat Sterling Marlin off pit road, and then it's Dale Jr. Mike Wallace's guys, who was running 5th, lost some positions as Jimmy Spencer goes by, and Mike Wallace is in that group of 4 cars.
That's great. And Jeff Gordon did not pit. Stewart's crew has been outstanding all day. Get out, Tony. Yes, sir. We did it once more. We're back to Charlotte in a minute. Under caution position in the UAW-GM Quality 500 for the 8th time. Been a very interesting race so far. Here's our Pepsi race recap and a look back at what's happened over the course of the day. Pre-race salute to firefighters. Some 5,000 of them on hand to lead the crowd in the singing of God Bless America and the Pledge of Allegiance. Then the field rolled off a little after 12:30 Eastern Time to begin the 500-mile chase. Early in the event, Elliott Sadler in trouble, turns 1 and 2 into the outside wall. Car got away from him when he was tucked up underneath somebody in traffic. This is Jason Leffler trying to turn off of Dave Blaney, hits the wall. Watch this. Ricky Craven and Stuart Kirby are involved in the accident. At lap 51, Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace get together on pit road. Damage to both cars. Rudd, the title contender, in second spot in points. They both lost time getting repairs made. We move ahead now to Jeff Gordon pitting under the green flag. Then as he goes back out onto the track, Dave Blaney gets into the outside wall. Cautions out. Gordon is trapped 1 lap down. Jeff stays on the speedway. Then another caution comes out when debris comes off of Bobby Hamilton's car right there at the start-finish line. Gordon is able to get the lap back and return to the chase for the victory. Lap 151, off of turn 4. Gordon continues to dodge problems as his teammate Jimmy Johnson spins in front of him. Then Ryan Newman spins through the cloud of smoke. When luck is with you, it's your day. Jerry Nadeau loses control, racing underneath Robert Presley in turn 2. That was the 7th caution of the race. Driver was okay in the incident. Then the most recent caution, the problem on Kurt Busch's car, that big stream of oil up under the hood of his machine. Jeff Gordon had stopped under green prior to this. He has been trapped 1 lap down once again. I told you it'd been an adventurous day. Bill, what's up with Jeff Gordon?
Well, Alan, I just talked to his crew chief, Robbie Loomis, and here's what he said about Jeff Gordon, is that they had to come in even under the caution, even though they had just stopped under green because the car was not handling well on the tires they put on. Jeff says the handle has just gone away. Robbie said it should be better now. They've squared the air pressures, dropped the track bar. We go to Marty.
Bill, Ricky Rudd sits in 23rd. They're currently arguing or vying their position with NASCAR officials, saying they feel like they're only 1 lap down. The scoring monitor shows them as 2 laps down. Michael McSwain just told me we're just not very good right now. They started loose, they got tight, or started tight, got loose the longer that run went. Going back to green on the racetrack.
Green.
Remember that Gordon beat leader Sterling Marlin back to the yellow. That's why he's 1 lap down. Rudd did not beat Marlin to the yellow. He got caught 2 down.
And Kurt Busch, the car that caused the last caution flag, evidently that was just an oil line that broke on his car because he's back on the speedway, although he is 3 laps down.
Tony Stewart leads, Sterling Marlin 2nd, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 3rd, Jimmy Spencer's 4th, Jeff Burton is 5th. They came off the pit lane, and it's Ward Burton, Rusty Wallace, Mike Wallace, Dale Jarrett, and Bobby Labonte. Johnny Benson's car is being pushed backwards on the pit lane toward the garage. Dave Burns.
Ward Burton restarted in 6th, Alan, but remember, he went way back to 39th when he pitted early when the pits were closed earlier in the race. So it's a great recovery for these guys. Unfortunately, he feels like the car is still very unsure on this racetrack. He's experiencing a push in the nose, especially when he's behind another car.
Is that Ward Burton or Jeff Burton he was talking about?
That would be Ward.
I thought he was talking about Ward.
Yes, Ward, the 22 car.
We're on the 99
And they really did make a good pickup, Wally, because you know when you get shuffled back from 11th where they were running back to 39, that's a lot of hard work to pass your way back to the front. Let's go to Matt Yoakum.
Well, Dave, we can update the 99 of Jeff Burton after a number of high fives from a 14.81 second pit stop. Jeff Burton feels like he now may have the car to return to victory lane. His car was extremely tight. They took 1.5 rounds of wedge out and made an air pressure adjustment for Jeff Burton.
Matt, thanks. Ron Hornaday will not see the finish. They just retired his car with an engine failure. This is the race for 4th. Jimmy Spencer and Jeff Burton, 26 and 99, respectively. tell you, Ricky Rudd is going to look back on this day as one of lost opportunity, as many things have happened to Jeff Gordon. Getting caught a lap down twice, for Rudd not to be able to take advantage of that is too bad for his championship hopes.
But that collision that he had with Rusty Wallace on pit road, that just kind of ruined his day before he ever really got a good start to it. Which we saw the same exact thing happen to Jeff Gordon here in May. He made contact with Kenny Wallace on pit road and finished, what, 33rd or something in the 600. Talking about Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, it was 29th he finished in May, Benny.
They must have got this shoe car fixed, because he's been pretty fast here lately.
Yeah, Rusty has been blazing up through the pack. Remember, he was the one that Rudd collided with on pit road early in the race. Rusty got caught a lap down earlier, made that back up, and now he's up to 7th and trying to catch Ward Burton for 6th. Dave Burns.
And Alan, you know how the guys in Rusty's crew, they like to build new race cars to go places. They like to always have something new, always trying something different. Well, this is a car that he's raced 3 previous times here at the Lowe Motor Speedway, and he loves it. And so they didn't want to make any car change for Rusty this weekend. And I guess they really liked it, because even after he got dinged up early in the race, they worked on it and worked on it. It's a good old piece.
Good hot rod, as he would say.
Rusty Wallace's season has been one of, well, speaking of opportunities missed, he's led the most laps at Richmond, didn't win the race. Led the most laps at Kansas City, didn't win the race. That's 2 of the last 3. He's led the most laps, and he hasn't gotten the win. That Mad Max name, Rusty's team has a tradition of naming their chassis after it wins a race. So after it scored the win at Michigan, he named it Mad Max.
I've named a couple, but you couldn't put it on TV.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly where Mad Max came from.
It's a movie character, wasn't it?
He actually named it that because he was mad going into the race, and it fired him up, and he got the maximum performance out of the car.
There you go.
Max.
I'm not one to ask about movie characters anyway. Rusty running in 7th place behind this driver, Tony Stewart. Half a second ahead of Sterling Marlin. 92 laps to go. Coverage of the UAW-GM Quality 500 is brought to you by UAW-GM. Assembly line to finish line, teamwork wins. By Casey Atwood and the Dew Crew, fueled by Mountain Dew. By Pep Boys, all you need to know is where to go, Pep Boys. And by McDonald's, we love to see you smile. 87 laps to go. Lowe Motor Speedway Charlotte and the UAW-GM Quality 500. NASCAR on TNT, the race for the championship, down to 8 final events for 2001.
And we're getting about to the point that Sterling Marlin starts running faster than Tony Stewart, comes up and passes him, and then there's a caution flag, and he falls behind him.
And then we do it all over again.
And we do it all over again.
Johnny Benson, the most recent driver to go out of the race, Bill.
And he's back here in the garage area with his crew in his car. We got to stop meeting like this. What happened?
It's broke again. I don't know it broke. It just all of a sudden, bam, you know, just same as last week. I don't know if it's the same thing, but I don't know. It makes it awful hard to stay at top 10 points like this, but let's come back, see what happens next week.
Started off so strong, Johnny. Last couple of weeks hasn't been there.
It's been good. I mean, like I say, we're running good. Can't complain there. And really, engine's been running good. Like I say, just haven't been able to finish, and that's killing us right now.
Okay, he hopes for better things next week at Martinsville.
All right, Bill, thanks. Johnny's out, Ron Hornaday's out, Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Nadeau, Dave Blaney, Stuart Kirby, and Jason Leffler. Ricky Craven and Elliott Sadler are back on the racetrack after spending a number of laps in the garage making repairs from crashes. That's what 3/4 of a second looks like. Sterling Marlin up to Tony Stewart.
And the last time by, Tony Stewart ran a little bit faster than Sterling Marlin did. So I'm sure that Greg Zipperdale and his crew have been working on Tony Stewart's car, his 20, making it as good as they can all day long. It looks like right now he may be the match of Sterling Marlin.
Remember when Tony Stewart ran the double, the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 on the same day, back Memorial Weekend, Indianapolis and here in Charlotte. He used it as a fundraiser. And earlier in this weekend, he presented a check to Kyle and Patty Petty's Victory Junction camp, a camp that they're putting together for sick children and so on, kind of patterned after the hole-in-the-wall gang camps. $240,000 was the check presentation. 83 laps to go. We're coming up on 400 miles here in Charlotte. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. Lowe's Motor Speedway Charlotte and the UAW-GM Quality 500 about to cross the 400-mile mark. Another 10 laps away. Tony Stewart is the leader. He's up by 0.6 of a second on Sterling Marlin. Third position has changed hands. Jeff and Ward Burton have gone by Dale Earnhardt Jr. They are now 3rd, 4th, and 5th, respectively. Jeff Burton and Bobby Labonte. Burton running in 3rd and Bobby Labonte in 10th. Together made an appearance this week. I shouldn't call it an appearance, though, because for one of those, you think of a driver going to a scheduled autograph session. This one was more of a morale-boosting appearance, and Bill Weber has the story.
Well, Alan, it was a road trip to New York. Now, these hats become very popular, obviously, since September 11th. But these hats are very special for Jeff Burton, Bobby Labonte, and Labonte's crew chief, Jimmy Makar. On Tuesday, they went to New York City. They wanted to go to the various precincts for the police and the fire department to meet them, to sign autographs, as a morale booster, as you said. But then, after visiting with those heroes in New York, they were convinced that they should go to Ground Zero to see what happened and see what's still going on there. They went, and Bobby Labonte said it defies explanation, saying no matter how bad your worst day ever is, you can't imagine what those people went through. Joe Gibbs originally came up with the idea after hearing that Elliott Sadler had gone to Dover Air Force Base to visit the troops there when we raced at Dover. He proposed the idea to Labonte. Labonte liked it. Their PR representative, Tim Sullivan, contacted some of the New York police officers that have worked with the team when they went to New York as the Winston Cup champions. They set up the visits to the fire departments, to the police departments, then made the trip to Ground Zero. It was supposed to be just a short trip, up a couple hours and back. It ended up being an all-day affair, a day none of them will ever forget.
Bill, I spent a good bit of time with Bobby Labonte on Friday evening of this weekend, and Bobby was speaking at his fan club meeting and asked me to go over and MC a couple of things for him. And he got up on stage and told the story to the group assembled there at his fan club meeting, and you could have heard a pin drop. Bobby, you know, a lot of folks don't necessarily think of Bobby as being an eloquent speaker. Sometimes he thinks really hard trying to get the right words to say, but when he opened up and poured out the emotion of that story and what it was like being there in New York City with those policemen and firemen, you could have heard a pin drop. Not a sound in the house. It was just absolutely captivating. And certainly a tip to Bobby and Jimmy and Jeff Burton for going up there and trying to boost the spirits of those who are under such duress in the terrible time in New York.
Well,
here we go.
We figured he would do it. Just take him a little longer. Take him a little longer than we thought he was going to.
Sterling Marlin on the longer runs, the farther into the green flag we've gotten all day. Seems like every time Stewart starts off quick and then Marlin gets quicker. Here it is.
I don't think that it's the fact that Sterling Marlin gets quicker. It's Tony Stewart gets slower and slower and slower. Kind of like Dale Earnhardt Jr. Same situation. He takes off pretty good, but he starts slowing down even more dramatically than does Tony Stewart.
You're right, Benny. It looks like Sterling's car doesn't fall off. It's not necessarily going any quicker. Just like you said, they're coming back. You just keep running the same times, and these cars get slower. That's exactly what's happening.
Okay, how about if I say quicker relative to Tony?
There you go.
Get away with that?
That's good.
All right.
For now.
Yeah. Hut Strickland being overtaken by the leaders. 90 car. Strickland's back in 32nd place. These two have really gapped 3rd place. Ward Burton has just taken 3rd from his brother Jeff. And here's 8th place Jarrett trying to fend off Jimmy Spencer. Excuse me, taking that spot from Spencer.
That would be correct. Doggone, he corrected himself before we could do it.
I know it.
He's learning. He's learning. Here they come. Battle for the lead. Sterling Marlin. Got it.
Tony Glover, Lee McCall, that entire crew must be delighted. Dave Burns.
Well, Benny, I don't know if we want to attribute it all to this, but again, it's after Tony has to start changing his line when he gets in lap traffic, when he's got cars around him, that his car does not perform as well. And one of the crew guys leaned over to me about 10 laps ago and he said, yeah, we need another caution. Because when they get a caution, of course, they'll come in here, beat him up at road, and then go back to bicycle.
Sterling did not just pass Tony. He's gapped him very quickly. Half a second already. Despite the great pit stops all day by Tony Stewart's crew, it's Sterling Marlin that leads. 400 miles complete, 100 to go in Charlotte. The final 100 miles of the UAW-GM Quality 500. NASCAR on TNT from Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte. Race number 29 of the season. It's come down to a duel between Sterling Marlin and Tony Stewart. Jeff Gordon, the championship leader, and Ricky Rudd, his closest pursuer for the title, have both had their problems today. They're both at least one lap down. Gordon in 18th place, 1 lap down. And Ricky Rudd back in 24th place, 2 laps down. Been a very interesting race as far as different storylines. Had the point leaders having their problems. You've had Rusty Wallace having trouble but coming back into the top 5. A lot of rides changed hands before this race. Some of those drivers doing quite well. U.S. Army Skycam giving us a look at the Speedway. The United States Army, an army of one. Talked about drivers changing rides this week. Kevin LePage is one of them. Marty?
Well, Alan, first I want Benny's attention. You remember how we said these guys were week to week, Benny?
Yes.
They were renting week to week?
Yes.
Let's add another week to Kevin LePage's rental contract, if you will. I handed a note to Jim Smith, the team owner, about 20 minutes ago. I said, will he definitely be in the car next week? He said, yeah, he will be. He gave me the thumbs up and said that he will be in the car next week at Martinsville. These guys have done a really good job. They are 14th right now. That's the furthest down they've been all day long, and they're going to take a chance on trying to win the race. They have done crew chiefs by committee. They have Buddy Barnes, Brad Garrett, and Barry Dodson also helping them today. So look for 2 tires, maybe no tires for Kevin LePage on the last stop.
Now LePage got out of the 4 car into the 7 car because Mike Wallace left the 7 to get into the 12. LePage is having a good day. Well, so is Mike Wallace too.
Never see Mike Wallace in the Mobile 1-12, trying his best to pass his brother, Rusty Wallace, and that's a battle for the 5th position.
Rusty Wallace fairly influential with Roger Penske's decision to put Mike Wallace in this car and give him a chance to try and make a name for himself, reestablish his Winston Cup career at the end of this season. We talked with Rusty about the pressure on Mike to perform well in this car.
He's a hell of a driver. Mike can flat drive a super speedway. Mike can drive Atlanta, Charlotte, all these places. It all gets down to how good the cars are. Now, Mike's never been in any really good cars. And I'm not going to tell you he's in a great car with the 12 right now because it struggles so hard. But we're going to try to help him all we can.
He says it makes him feel better that you're part of the decision-making process.
Well, he can come down to my car now and ask me a question. I can give him a straight answer, you know, because it's part of the deal.
Mike Wallace in that 12 car. Dave Burns has more on him.
And actually, I was going to update the brother, Rusty Wallace, in the 2 car. If Mike were to come down and talk to Rusty right now about his car, if he gave him the straight answer, it would be that the car is still tight. I just checked with Robin Pemberton, Rusty's crew chief, and Robin told me that they need to loosen the car just a little bit more on what should be a final stop coming up soon.
Leaders all pitted at 2:29. So figuring we're going to see them in somewhere starting around 2:89. That'd be 60 laps.
You know, Penske Racing South, Rusty Wallace started 24th is in 5th. Mike Wallace started 39th, had to take it provisionally 6th place. Ryan Newman started up front, and they crossed each other. He's back in 19th. Bill Weber.
Well, Benny, Ricky Rudd is on pit road. This is early, just like Jeff Gordon earlier in the race. He believes he has a tire that has been equalizing, so he's getting 4 tires. They make a chassis adjustment. They'll fill it with fuel. When we look back at the championship race at the end of the season, Ricky Rudd will look back and remember this day. It won't be a pleasant memory, and neither will that pit stop.
No, 16.5 seconds. Those guys are capable of about 14 seconds. And I think right now there's probably a lot of teams that would like to make this pit stop and change 4 tires. But there's been so many caution flags today, they're concerned that caution flag may come out.
8 different times today the caution flag is waved. Sterling has gapped Tony Stewart. Sterling Marlin, the leader there, has put 2.5 seconds, nearly 2 rounds over that. 2.94 seconds now on Tony Stewart. So he's really left him farther than he had so far today. Talked about that ongoing situation with Stewart coming off pit road first and leading for a while, and then Marlin going by him. But this is the furthest that Sterling has pulled away all day, my recollection. 55 laps to go. Final pit stops still to come. Stay with us. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. Troubles for Mike Wallace. He just came onto pit road for a green flag stop.
As the 12 car left the pits, BP, it looked like there was water coming out over the. There's an overflow tube that's usually behind the left rear tire.
And it looks like something might have happened to the engine. I thought it was a scheduled pit stop. The way the crew was reacting, it was a scheduled pit stop. And he's trying his best to get back to pit road and get out of the way.
See the fluid coming off the back right there? Is that water or fuel?
Whatever it was, he obviously shut the power off pretty quickly after getting off the pit lane. And he's taking it straight to the garage.
Probably water then.
He's running 6th.
That's too bad. Mike was giving that car a great ride today.
So eliminate another contender. And now the question becomes, when do you pit? If the race stays green to the finish, when do you make the move to pit road?
If I'm the 40 car, I'm going to wait till the last possible minute. I'm going to put as much distance as I can and be the last guy to pit.
Which was the report we got from Marty in his stall, his pit stall a minute ago.
But like BP, we were talking a little earlier, the 99, 22, those guys should be pitting now.
Matt Yoakum, what happened to Mike Wallace?
He came on the radio and said something is amiss with the motor. They told him to shut it off, something, maybe a pulley or something in the front of the motor. He was driving a very smart racing, having a career day. A tough break for Mike Wallace.
This is 6th place, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Dale Jarrett racing. So far, Dale Jarrett showing no ill effects from the concussion and broken rib that he suffered last weekend at Kansas City.
We can't sit on the racetrack in his performance anyway, but my guess is he's not feeling 100% right now.
He'll be feeling it tomorrow morning.
Yes, he will.
Ill effects.
Ill effects.
Wally, you told me earlier in the weekend you've raced with a broken rib before.
On a road course. That really hurts.
Are you really? I mean, the drivers all talk about shutting the pain out and all that. Can you really, or is that just macho talk?
Actually, really, you do. You get used to it, but you try to do as much as you can around the seat, to pad that problem. But you're concentrating so hard, usually you just try to put it out of your mind.
Speaking of injured drivers, Matt Yoakum, what's going on with Jeff Burton?
His crew chief, Frank Stoddard, keeps coaching him like a coach at the side of a boxing ring, telling his driver to keep going on, keep going on. And the reason is significant because on his last stop when Jeff Burton was exiting pit road, he had his hand out the side window to get some air in to help cool him. But when he did that, another car was leaving and kicked up a lug nut, and it might have broken one or two of Jeff's fingers. The team does have an ice pack ready to go to hand in the window to Jeff. The problem, they're hoping that they can get a caution so he can use it. They're expecting to make their next stop around lap 296. Alan?
Wow. Talk about a freak happening there.
Sorry, BP, the way these cars are built now, there's no air that gets inside these windows. So that's why he stuck his hand out. How about it, Bill? Here comes Jeff.
Jeff Gordon on pit road here, working lap 291. This should be their final stop. Has not been the day these guys have hoped for. Hoping to repeat as a winner here at Charlotte, where Jeff has won 4 times. Probably won't happen today. Routine stop, 4 tires. Gordon gets fuel, heads back out. It's been a challenge for those guys.
But if there's any bright spot on the day for Gordon, the fact is it's been just as challenging, if not more so, a day for Ricky Rudd. And he's not going to lose any ground in the championship.
Sterling Marlin just keeps continuing. He now has almost a 4-second lead on Tony Stewart.
In fact, if the race ended now, Gordon's going to gain ground on Ricky Rudd. Tony Stewart will knock off 80 points, but he's still a good distance back.
On board with Bill Elliott. Elliott is back in the 15th position, still on the same lap as Sterling Marlin, the leader. Oops, he's a lap down. That Sterling just passed him.
Marlin out 4 seconds on Tony Stewart. And Rusty Wallace comes in from 5th place. What would be his final stop of the day, barring a caution flag late? Dave Burns.
Rusty Wallace complained that the car was tight. Let's see what the crew does to adjust for that. They will pull a tearaway off the windshield. Remember last week, Rusty had trouble with one of those. No trouble today with his windshield. They put 4 tires on and only an air pressure adjustment on the 2 car. Marty.
Kevin Harvick doing a marvelous job, Dave. He came down pit road running 10th. Remember, he only has 3rd and 4th gears, but the chassis is excellent, and those gears have hung together today, Burns.
And Tony Stewart said on the radio he apologized to his crew for not doing any better, but the car is just too tight in traffic. They will make a chassis adjustment. There goes the adjustment right now. Give him 4 tires. Matt?
Jeff Burton is in. It will be a 4-tire stop. He was handed a bottle of Gatorade, which he throws back out the window, and the ice pack, which he also threw back out the window. He just does not have time to use the ice pack. To Marty.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. did not like this set of tires. It was too loose. They will put 4 tires on and make an adjustment for Dale Earnhardt Jr. As Sterling Marlin comes down pit road, he slides to a stop. The leader, Tony Glover, told him on the radio, get as much distance as you can between you and Tony Stewart. It will again be 4 tires and no adjustment for Sterling Marlin and the Coors Light team. They have done a great job on pit road today, and they put him back out on the racetrack. Today, Burns.
Ford Burton exiting his pit stop and exiting his pit stall after a chassis adjustment and 4 tires. A great top 5 run for him today. Bill.
Bobby Labonte on pit road, defending champ of this race, getting 4 tires and fuel. No changes, waiting on the left front. Some of these stops taking a long time. Mark Martin now works his way down pit road for what should be his final stop if we stay under green. Half pound of air out of the right front and the left rear tires. Mark has had a solid run up at the front of the field, but hasn't been able to get to the very front of it, falling back at the last few laps. Now he gets 4 tires and fuel. Mark looking to head back out on the track.
Matt Kenseth is the leader. He's not yet stopped. And now he dives onto pit road off turn 4. This will complete the cycle of stops. Dave?
And Matt Kenseth comes in. They will change 4 tires as well. Put fuel in the car. Doesn't look like they're going to make any chassis adjustment to his car other than air pressure adjustment. He's been fighting a tight car like the rest of the guys all day long. And Kenseth now will get the left side of the car drop and leave pit lane.
Wow, great pit stop. 14.5 seconds.
And as Kenseth rejoins the chase, the lead goes back to Sterling Marlin. His advantage over Tony Stewart has been cut in half by the pit stop. He had 4 seconds. He's got 2 now. But the story all day has been Marlin having to chase Stewart down to get around him. Marty?
That's exactly the concern right now for Sterling Marlin's team. Tony Stewart not only cut the lead in half on the pit stops, but he is also faster than Sterling on the racetrack, just by a little bit, but he is faster than Sterling. But remember, as we've talked about all day, Alan, you just mentioned it, the longer they run, the better Sterling gets. If we stay green, they'll be in good shape.
And the last thing Sterling Marlin needs is a caution right now between the troubles getting going on the restarts and the trend we just discussed. He's hoping for green to the checkers. Just inside the final 50 miles of the UAW-GM Quality 500, NASCAR on TNT from Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte. Off of what are potentially the final pit stops of the race, Sterling Marlin's crew has held the lead, and he's moved out a little bit further away from Tony Stewart than he was when we went to the break.
He's picked up about 3/4 of a second on Tony, so the margin now is about 3 seconds.
Marlin certainly has been the standard bearer for the Dodge boys throughout this 2001 season. He's led 19 of the 28 races. He's got 8 top 5 and 15 top 10 finishes. And he has the distinction of being the only driver in the entire Winston Cup circuit to be in the top 10 in points after every race this season. This is 5th place. Rusty Wallace in the 2, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8, and Dale Jarrett in the 88. And Rusty's car doesn't look as good as it did a little while ago.
He looked like he pushed up the hill there a little bit.
And Junior almost got that inside line and took the spot away. But all the cars are running on the bottom down in 1 and 2. We can see the shade on the racetrack. It's nice and cool down there and a lot of grip.
See what happens when they go back down into 3. I suspect the 8 car will drop to the bottom again.
And Rusty's going to try it. Can he stay down there? Doesn't seem to be able to keep it on the bottom. The car just pushes up the hill.
Yeah, 2 cars got a motor.
What about Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car, Marty?
Well, Alan, as we said earlier, his car was too loose, and this is the problem these crew chiefs have these days. They think that it was a set of tires that didn't work so well with Junior's chassis. So the crew chief's job is to make that decision. Do I adjust for that, or do I just assume that it was indeed the set of tires? You know, Junior turns 27 on Wednesday. He cannot have a birthday party on Wednesday, because he's got to be gone all day and night at a photo shoot for a sponsor. So the party is tonight for Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 27th birthday, and I'm sure he'd love to celebrate it with a win.
He's going to have a little bit of luck for that to happen right now.
See, you know, and what they're talking about, these tires are, sometimes you get a set of tires that aren't exactly like the last set you had. So a lot of guys are complaining about the inconsistency of the tires. So when you come in and say your car's a little bit loose, you don't know whether if you make that adjustment, if you make a chassis adjustment, if the tires really fix that loose. So it's really a guessing game. The guys are having a hard time getting a handle on these tires right now.
And a moment ago, I talked about Rusty Wallace's car being tight. He went down in the corner in 3. The car goes down the bottom of the racetrack and just pushes up. This is what we're talking about by tight as we go inside our TNT virtual garage. Preferred line. The car's on the bottom, and all of a sudden it just goes up the hill. Will not turn off the corner.
And still, the fight goes on between Wallace and Earnhardt Jr. with Dale Jarrett lurking right behind. That's for fifth position. Sterling Marlin is in command. There are 26 laps to go here in Charlotte. Marlin is the leader. He's moved out by another half a second on Tony Stewart. It's 4.3 now as we enter the final laps. Marlin looking for his second win of 2001. He won the Michigan race back in August, got Dodge its first NASCAR Winston Cup victory since 1977.
Got him where he wants him, BP.
He sure does. And now he's starting to pull away from Tony Stewart. Up to 4.5-second lead.
Ward Burton is 10 seconds back in third. Jeff Burton is fourth. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has taken fifth from Rusty Wallace. Then you've got Dale Jarrett, Kevin Harvick, Mark Martin, and Jimmy Spencer. The rest of the top 10. Bobby Hamilton Jr. has just retired his car with an engine failure. Marlin has just put Ken Schrader a lap down. Bill Elliott has gone a lap down. Todd Bodine has fallen off the lead lap.
And Tony Stewart has a very comfortable lead on the third place car, Ward Burton, of about 6 seconds.
This one's been very competitive all day. It's a very interesting race throughout. For now, things have kind of settled in as Marlin is just really yarding the field.
He's doing what to the field?
Yarding.
Yarding.
Yes.
Okay.
Kind of like hitting a home run. Knocked it out of the yard. Marty, help me out here.
I can't help you with that, Alan. That's pretty bad. No, he is doing a terrific job. How about that? They have been very impressive today. And you know, the last time Sterling Marlin finished even in the top 10 at Charlotte was 1996. He's trying to get Dodge's third win of 2001. That is Felix Sabates, and he is here, and that is very significant because he still owns a part of this race team. The last time Felix saw one of his cars win in person, 1994 at Watkins Glen. Alan?
All right, Marty, thanks. 17 to go.
Uh-oh. 7 car looks like it's about to blow up right in front of the leader.
Believe me, Sterling sees that.
That's Kevin LePage, who's had a great run all day long in Jim Smith's Nations Rent car. Hate to see that thing go up in smoke short of the finish. That'd be a terrible disappointment for them.
We saw some smoke out of the left front.
Oh, look at that. Not good.
Not good.
It's like he's broken a shock.
Yeah.
And the left front just really going up and down.
And we welcome back those of you who've been watching NBC News. Continuous coverage throughout the afternoon. We're at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte, with 15 laps to go in the UAW-GM Quality 500. The silver car on your screen came into today's race with Jeff Gordon and Ricky Rudd lined up side by side, 19th and 20th on the grid in their race for the championship. Both have had their problems all day. Gordon visited pit road for a green flag stop at lap 110. Then a caution came out, trapped him a lap down. He got the lap back later, then had to pit at lap 219, fell 2 laps down. He's only been able to get one of them back. Rudd was involved, his other title rival, or his title rival. Rudd was involved in a crash on pit road, of all things. He bumped fenders with Rusty Wallace at lap 49. The story of this race has been one of Tony Stewart's pit crew getting him off the pit road first about every stop for most of the race. Marlin coming out close behind him, and the farther they ran under the green flag, the faster Marlin got in relation to Stewart. Going to be a frustrating finish for Stewart. Dave is with his crew chief.
And so it begs the question, Alan, with 25 laps into this run, why hasn't Tony Stewart been able to make some ground on Sterling Marlin? He's actually lost ground. Greg, why hasn't he picked up any ground at the start of his run?
Well, we freighted up that time there, and it was a little bit too much, so I think we gave up the edge that we had on the front side, but we didn't have much choice. We had to try to do something. And I think Sterling got through traffic a little bit better than we did. We're kind of breaking even on lap times. Home Depot Pontiac run good. Tony had to go to a wedding yesterday, so he never made a lap in this car in racing practice. My little buddy Mike McLaughlin got it in for us yesterday, and I owe a lot to him. He did a great job getting this car pretty close for us, and we've just been tuning on it to get into Tony's style. We've been giving up a little bit on the long run. That's normally where this Home Depot Pontiac is good, but I don't think we anticipated the sun being this warm and the track temperature being what it is. So we come out of here with a second place of the circumstances that we had to deal with yesterday. I'll be pretty proud of everybody here.
Well, there's the answer, Alan. They changed the car going for the win.
Yeah, and you could tell earlier when we were on board on the in-car camera, Tony couldn't quite get after the gas. You watch, we're going down here in turn 3. He'll get off the throttle, he'll drive it in, and he'll pick up the throttle right here. See, just gently picked up the throttle, and he can't pound on the gas, Benny, like you really need to get off of turn 4.
Wally kind of wait. Let's try it this time. Wally, go ahead.
Okay, well, now we're going down into turn 1. We'll get out of the gas, get the car set, pick the gas up a little bit, then feed it, feed it, feed it, feed it. Now you're hard on the gas. Not as important in 1 and 2 as down here in 3 and 4, where it's tricky getting back on the gas after you've had tire wear. Off the gas, try to get the car down. Listen. See how gently he gets on the gas? That's because he's got no rear grip. You got to really baby that throttle when you get in it.
The shadows across the racetrack down the front now into turn 1 and 2 as the autumn sun gets a little lower in the sky. Does that bother you behind the wheel?
It's not too bad here. There's a couple places where it really gets bad. I remember it used to be at Phoenix, it used to be really bad because that sun would come down right in turn 1 and you'd be driving right into the sun. But it's not bad when you're driving from the sun to the shade.
Rockingham going in turn 1 used to be the absolute worst. The one advantage, a lot of these racetracks keep building seats, and the higher they go with the seats, the more they block the sun out.
We saw Kevin LePage's 7 car smoking a little while ago. Had a spoil in the end of a good run. Marty, what's going on there?
Well, they're hanging in there, Alan. They're in 13th right now, and it is a left front tire rub is what Kevin is saying. It seems like when he hits the brakes, it's when it's a little bit worse. You can see it bounding up and down there on the racetrack as he goes over those bumps, and that is the problem, a left front tire rub. They're hoping it hangs on for just a few more laps.
But see, if you watch a BP, like especially when it comes out of 2, it actually smokes when he's way out of the corner. Don't you think if something was broke, you'd see it right there?
Yeah, you'd think you'd see it in the corner when the pressure is on the left front.
There's where it smokes. He's on the straightaway. Now he goes over the bumps here real hard, and it almost stops smoking.
It's a mystery.
I have no idea. Alan?
What are you asking me for? Every time I say something, you say, well, what do you mean by that?
I just don't understand some of the words you use. You guys are picking on me. He's yarding along, though.
That's right. No, he's not yarding. Sterling Marlin, however, is. His lead has gone up to 6.2 seconds on Tony Stewart. And as you can see, less than 5 laps to go.
And I think the Sterling Marlin now is backing off and just kind of riding and waiting for the checkered flag. And he still is running as fast as Tony Stewart.
On board with the race leader.
He mentioned he had some problems with that headpiece right there, that piece that holds the helmet. He was having a hard time with his peripheral vision. He couldn't see the cars to the right. A lot of guys run that same headpiece, but they run it a lot wider, and they actually cut a hole like right here so they can see through it when there's a car on the right-hand side. But he didn't need to see anybody. Been up front all day.
Casey Atwood there.
Ready to go. Don't take no chances.
Glover is the master of the understatement.
Tony Glover, team manager, been with Sterling Marlin a long, long time. Glover, second-generation racer. His father was an outstanding late model driver. Sterling Marlin, son of Cuckoo Marlin, former Winston Cup driver. And now a third generation of Marlins coming along. Sterling's son Stedman racing regularly and finding some success.
Lead, no pressure, 2 to go.
And that's a nice thing to hear. No pressure, there's nobody in your mirror, you got 2 to go. Just, you know, that's the best of situations, is they're coming for the win and not having somebody on your bump. Like yesterday, boy, Matt Kenseth and Greg Biffle racing each other, a couple laps to go. That went in a little bit hard, spun the car out, and Biffle took the win.
You know, we talked at the top of our broadcast about this being the home stadium for many of these teams and how important it was to win. Ironically, the guy that's going to win is one of the few drivers who doesn't live in the Charlotte area.
Still maintains his residence in Columbia, Tennessee.
Nashville area is where Columbia is.
But the car and the 30 or 40 people that work on this car are all based about 30 miles from here.
Final lap for Sterling Marlin, seeking his 8th NASCAR Winston Cup win and his 2nd of 2001. He's led the Dodge Boys charge all throughout this season. And now he's going to get the win in the UAW-GM Quality 500. Marlin wins at Charlotte.
Slow down, man. I want to tell you something.
Here's a race for position to the checkered flag. This is 4th spot.
Oh, Junior gets a little bit loose off the 4. 99 cannot capitalize on it.
Junior takes that spot from Jeff Burton in the final lap. Marlin wins. Tony Stewart 2nd, Ward Burton 3rd, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 4th, and Jeff Burton 5th. First win here at Charlotte for Sterling Marlin. He had a 2nd place run as his best finish prior. That was way back in 1989. May 1977, the last time a Dodge went to victory lane here. That was the King Richard Petty who did it.
Big flag right there on the right in the middle of the racetrack there.
I think.
Oh, we got another wreck.
Oh,
that's what you call head first.
Down, come over here to the flag with me.
These guys aren't used to running BP. I don't know.
patriotic celebration. About to be done by Sterling Marlin and company. Felix Sabat is there, former full owner of the team.
Uh-oh, I don't see the silly sticks, or what are we calling it now?
Silly sticks. He's not in victory lane yet.
He's getting out there, though.
When Sterling gets to victory lane, we'll talk with him. First, we'll take a break. Marlin has won here in Charlotte the UAW-GM Quality 500. We'll come back in a minute. Welcome to the Autotrader.com post-race show. Coverage of the aftermath of today's UAW-GM Quality 500 at Charlotte, won by Sterling Marlin. And Marlin has rolled his Dodge into victory lane. The silly sticks are up over the window. And let's go to Bill Weber.
Well, Sterling Marlin in victory lane for the second time this season, and for the first time in a long time with the sun shining. His last two wins have both been rain-shortened victories, but today the sun, success, and the American flag wave for Sterling Marlin and the Coors Light team. Tony Glover coming in. You stay here a second. Congratulations, and congratulations to you. There's a phone call.
Chip.
Who's that?
Thanks, Chip. We're doing victory lane. Thank you, man. That thing will go. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay, here's Felix. Thank you again.
That wasn't collect, was it?
I hope not. It's Felix's phone.
Hey, did Tony Glover tell you halfway through this race this is the best car you've ever had?
No, I tell you, this old car here, we've won Michigan with it, and it's run top 5 of a race. It just runs real good, and I felt like yesterday we had a real good car. And just be patient and keep the fenders on it. It was good on the long run, and Tony's good on short goes, but I'd like to thank all these guys on the Coors Light Dodge team. They've done a great job, and ASP was good.
At one time, you just blew by that 20 car, Sterling.
Yeah, we was got a couple sets of tires were a little loose, and it took us a little while to get to him. But all in all, it's a good car. I think Goodyear for some great tires is real consistent all day, and it's all these guys in their hands.
You know, you're an out-of-towner. You won the home game in front of the other guys.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. I've won some bush races here at Charlotte and some Winston Opens, and I've always run good here, and I never had much luck in the Cup race here lately. But put everything together today. Motor ran great, and great crew chief. Just good.
Lee McCall. Sterling, a lot's gone on around the world today. Does it mean something special to you to carry that American flag around this track in front of these fans?
Yeah, I was going to carry it around the track, and NASCAR wouldn't let us. Made us come in here, but you know, we needed to get them guys, and you know, just you know, thoughts and prayers with everybody in the armed forces overseas, and man, get them guys.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Okay.
Sterling Marlin in victory lane at Charlotte. We go to Matt.
And the beaten and battered 24 car, if you can still see the decal, the number on the side, has found its way back to the garage. Jeff, what happened to the side of that car?
That was after the checkered. I believe the 18 to 26 weren't too happy with one another, and I was just driving by them and got caught up in it. But it was a pretty wild day, you know, on the racetrack all day for the DuPont Chevrolet. But you know, I don't know what happened. We were up there. I think we came in one time and got caught, you know, in the pits, or we just come out and the caution came out. So things really weren't going our way today. We had a pretty good car, but then we just had a couple sets of tires that didn't match up for us. I don't know what happened to them. One equalized, and the next set just was real tight. So you know, we fought back, and it wasn't the kind of day we hoped for. But you know, Ricky Rudd didn't have a great day. So points-wise, it was a good day for us. But that's not the way we want to do it. We want to battle with him, and I'm sure he'd like to do the same battle with us for wins out there.
How frustrating the inconsistency in the tires. We've heard a lot of people talk about that today.
You know, I've had very good sets all year that have been extremely consistent. All through practice, we've had good sets, but I tell you today it was a handful. I don't know what was going on there, but I sure do hope we get something figured out on it.
A frustrating day, but still a 16th place finish, 5 spots higher than the 21st place Ricky Rudd. To Dave.
And Matt, Tony Stewart has not won yet here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, but I expect him to soon. He finished 3rd in the spring. He finishes 2nd today. But Tony, you guys were obviously trying to get your car right to catch the 40, and instead you got further back, eh?
They were really good today. I mean, Sterling and everybody at Chip Ganassi Racing did a great job. But I tell you what, I owe a lot of thanks to my crew today. You know, they kept getting us out in the lead on pit stops, and that's what we had to do to keep the Pontiac in clean air and get it to where, you know, we were getting a good enough air to get the downforce that the Dodges have. They're tough to beat right now, and you know, we're gonna have to do something because our bodies are starting to get tired on the downforce side. But you know, we had a great day. You know, we led a lot of laps today and got into form here. So you know, not bad for a guy that missed happy hour yesterday.
And we haven't caught up with him totally, but no reports of any tire problems today. Marty?
Well, Dave, 4th for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and thanks for slapping me in the face with the water bottle. And what a day for you. I mean, you had the vibration, you had the motor problem, you had all kinds of things going on in there, didn't you?
Yeah, I think every car we got vibrates sometime during the race, but I'm not sure whether that's normal, whether all the drivers have that. And I had that one last week that ended up sending me in the wall, and I was trying to worry about that, and I kind of felt kind of the same thing. But, you know, what are you supposed to do until it gets bad enough to where it worries you to death? But
you got guys like that chasing you back from behind.
Yeah, we were lucky to get Jeff at the end, pick up an extra spot there for some points, but he got caught up in some lap cars and stuff. It's a good car though. We blew a motor in practice yesterday. We didn't get no practice, and we had to guess on the setup, and I was really upset and kind of ticked off this morning with my guys, and we kind of come together and just tried to get through this weekend, through this race, and ended up with a good finish, and everybody's really happy now. So it's amazing what a 24 hours will do. But we left the spark plug wires off in practice yesterday to messed the motor up, and then pieces were falling off, so we didn't get any practice. So we just learn from our mistakes. But during the race, we had lug nuts left off on a pit stop. It sent us to the back, and I passed some cars, and we had some great pit stops to get us back up front. We were a 4th place car. I thought we had a 3rd place car, but Ward worked around his car to get his car running faster, and I'm really satisfied and happy with what we got. We needed the points.
All right, have fun at the birthday, kid. There you go. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 27 on Wednesday, comes home 4th here at Charlotte.
Man, what a weekend that was. Now, here's what Jeff Gordon was talking about. Bobby Labonte and Jimmy Spencer finished 10th and 11th, respectively.
Spencer drives up. I don't think he knew Gordon was there. I'm not sure.
But Spencer doesn't back off. He continues on to go up and talk to. Well, I guess he didn't go up and talk to Bobby.
He put a little crease in the back bumper when he came across.
Got me.
Yeah. More details to be determined. Final results of today's UAW-GM Quality 500, second win of 2001 for Sterling Marlin. 37th to 5th for Jeff Burton. Dale Jarrett, despite the broken rib.
And Rusty Wallace, what a comeback for that team today to finish in the 7th spot after their problems on pit road. Pole sitter Jimmy Spencer finishes 11th. We see 12 cars on the lead lap.
Kevin LePage, first car, 1 lap down. Jeff Gordon, point leader in 16th place. And there's Ricky Rudd in 21st. So Gordon will gain a little bit of ground on Rudd. Opportunity missed today for Ricky. A lot of drivers failed to finish this one. 11 cars out of the race. That's a very high number.
Huge number anymore. Mike Wass had a terrific run. He will finish 34th today.
Late engine failure on his car. 8 caution flags for 40 laps slowed the event. 9 lead changes among 19 drivers. Now, let's go back and look at different ways crews can celebrate a win, shall we?
Let's.
This was Richmond a couple weeks ago.
Oh!
Oh, be Sean Warren falls off pit road.
Okay, now let's take a look. It's this guy right here. Let's watch him. Oh! He got tripped by a snake. Watch his head. Oh!
We're back. Here are the championship standings after today's race. 7 left now in the season. The lead was 222 coming in. No change in the top 5 positions.
But Jeff Burton did move into the top 10.
Johnny Benson falling out of the race for the 2nd week in a row has dropped him off of the leaderboard there. Martinsville next weekend, short track, bumping and banging, little old flat half-mile speedway. Isn't that going to be some fun?
And you saw that tire mark on Jeff Gordon's car on the left side at Martinsville next week. That will be incidental contact.
Bud Pole qualifying Friday at 3 Eastern Time on CNN Sports Illustrated. Saturday on TNT. Final practice for the Winston Cup drivers from Martinsville at 1 Eastern, followed by the NASCAR Busch Series race from Memphis at 2:30 in the afternoon. At another short track. Then next Sunday, the Old Dominion 500 presented by Stacker 2. NASCAR on NBC at 12 noon Eastern Time. For those of you watching on NBC, we're going to send you directly to the Gravity Games in Providence, Rhode Island. Those on TNT, we're back with more post-race coverage from here in Charlotte in a minute. And we continue here on TNT with our Autotrader.com post-race show from Charlotte. Ricky Rudd, not a good day, Matt.
It was a very frustrating day for Ricky Rudd. First off, Ricky, did your problem start as far as your handling of the race car goes with a contact with the 2 car on pit road?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what started our problem. What happened is we made our pit stop. We're pulling out, and the 92 pulled out of his stall and drove right in my left side, and that knocked me into Rusty, which damaged our right side and damaged Rusty's car, and basically both our front fenders, which, you know, we depend on heavily for aerodynamics, were basically reshaped, and not to our liking, obviously. I mean, the car didn't run very good at all. It's the worst we run all year.
We've seen a lot of teams today talk about the inconsistency in the tires. Jeff Gordon said he's never seen it this bad. How about you?
Well, I think I'd have to ditto what he just said. At the end of the race, we were running, I think there's only one car quicker than us, and that was a leader. And right before that stop, we were like 3 seconds or 2 seconds a lap slower, which was about the last place car. So I've never experienced it. I don't think anybody here has ever seen it to this degree, especially when you go all year and you have consistency like we've had, and all of a sudden you come to one racetrack and it just, everything you've ever known goes out the window.
21st place finish, a disappointing day for Ricky Rudd. To Marty Snyder.
Well, Matt, Jeff Burton started 37th and finished way up there and almost had 4th, but finished 5th.
Yeah, we lost 1 spot there at the end to Little Earnhardt. We got real tight at the end, and he was coming pretty hard. I just couldn't hold him off. We got back beside him, but didn't have enough racetrack to get him.
Real quick, the hand okay with the lug nuts?
Yeah. Actually, it was a piece of rubber. It didn't. It was a piece of rubber hit it and just bent it back. It hurt really bad then, but it doesn't hurt now.
All right, Alan. Jeff Burton finishes 5th.
Come back with some final thoughts from Charlotte in just a minute. Sterling Marlin is holding the winner's trophy. Coming up next on TNT, it's Law and Order. Stay with us for that. Great day here in Charlotte. Sunny, crisp fall afternoon. Pretty wild action on the racetrack. Jeff Gordon, the championship leader, and Ricky Rudd, his title rival, both encountering their problems today. No troubles for Sterling Marlin, though. He rolls to his 2nd win of 2001 and a star-spangled, stumbling victory celebration.